thing back there. You got like twist the knob. All right, all right. Greetings, greetings, glad tidings to all the beloved. I see on YouTube there was already few people waiting. I didn't put it out as like an event so you guys could all be waiting, because last time I did that it kind of messed up. But as always, me set to all the beloved across the realm. This evening is a first for and I have no problem bringing anyone on that has a certain level of knowledge that is convicted within I by the Great Spirit, that I feel can be relevant and basically transmuted by you all, or I wouldn't be bringing this brother on. So, I don't want to bring any negativity to this stream. Same way there's people that speak negative about myself and pretty much anybody. You're not going to make everyone happy all the time. So there's I've had people come at me with mixed opinions about Brother Micah, specifically about the Freemasonry thing. My father taught me growing up, there's two things that you don't speak to anyone about, and that's your finances and your sex life. And that whole thing, for those that have made it kind of like an issue, that if Micah wants to speak about that, he can do a stream about that. This stream is not about that, so we don't need anyone in the chat focusing on that. Right, this right here with Micah and I coming together on this stream, and him bringing his wealth of knowledge over here. You all are privileged and honored, as well as Micah and I are, to intertwine our energies. So we all are privileged, and this is an honor for all of us, regardless of backgrounds and this and that and all these small little details. Okay, you guys know I've already made it clear about my orientation as far as any groups are concerned. I'm not a part of any group except my tribe. That is it. So I just want to give that disclaimer. I hope we have at least one moderator in the chat that can take care of any negativity. I've been noticing a lack of moderators. I might have to start giving out some more wrenches, but we really don't have too much negativity over here. That's a huge thing that I noticed. We have a lot of unity over here. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Michael onto the stage, and he has a presentation for you, and we're going to let the Great Spirit flow. I thoroughly enjoy presentations, but at the same time, you all know that how I operate, and I'm always about the Great Spirit flowing. So I'm sure we will interact with each other, and you all will be the beneficiaries primarily, as well as Micah and I. Okay, so without further ado, let me see if I can do this. Actually, I'm gonna get my son to help me, so I don't.
Does he want to talk first?
He bring him on. And Brother Michael,
finally,
welcome.
We get to do this. I am so glad that you brought that up. The negativity that I get. I would like to share something with everybody and I'm only going to share this once, and then I'm going to move on. Regarding the Freemasonry thing, I want you guys to understand that I joined them because I thought that they were the esoteric school of Chem, like they used to be. They're not. I did this presentation that I'm going to do for you right now for the grand. I'm from Long Island, New York. Okay. And I did this presentation it was during COVID, so I couldn't physically go into the Grand Lodge in New York City that oversees everything, but I did it virtually for their library. I did this presentation. I found out that they had it taken down, and when I asked the person who took it down why, they said it was too revealing of the signs. So I left Freemasonry. I am no longer a Mason. I am not part of any gatekeeping. In fact, I'm to the point where I think I'm just going to go at it alone. I'm not part of any group except my tribe, my family. You know, I'm going to go at it alone. So I just wanted to address this right away. I went in for a specific reason. It wasn't there. And it was a learning experience, that's for sure. I'm not going to talk about anything within the sect, the Freemasons, but I am no longer a Freemason. And they did tell me that my presentation was too revealing of the signs. And I am not part of any gatekeeping. I've never been, and I do not support it. Therefore, I left. So I just want to get that out of the way.
Well, that's awesome, brother. And I want to let everybody know this was not planned at all. Like no. Me and Micah, we just spoke literally for 2 minutes on the phone. Like, hey, you ready? You ready? I'm ready. All right. Boom. We have not spoke about any of this, or, you know, we text each other here and there, you know.
But at the same time, I'm so glad that you brought it up because it gives me a platform to explain this to people.
And brother, that's the great spirit right there. That's the great spirit moving. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of people, not a lot, but just when you get to a certain level of knowledge, people automatically start accusations of something. He got to be part of something. There's no way, you know. And people ask me all the time, like, what books do you read, Chief? This and that. Like, I enjoy reading, you know, no doubt. But people can't really comprehend that. I would say 80% or more of the work that comes out through this platform, like, I'm telling the 100% truth. It literally comes from within. It's just unvelations. You know, they say revelations, but that's reverse word magic.
You know, I personally, I see when you go into a religious building or so, when you're going to join the Jewish faith, or you're going to go into a temple or a Christian church or Islam, a mosque, the very first thing that the clergy is going to tell you is that there is an external savior and he should be worshipped. The very last thing that they will ever tell you is to look within.
Man, and that's separation. You know, that's what separation is. And the word separation literally means 7 rations. And that's the 7 lights, the 7 archangels, the 7 chakras, the 7 churches, 7 bowls, 7 days of the week. Even the 7 days of the week are literally idolatry. You know, the way they're all set up with the Norse mythology and everything. We are in a melting pot. This whole realm literally is set up to make you be an idol worship, a worshipper, because a worshipper is someone who is on the waters of the Great Mother, who is warring against another, because every single person that has a Ra legion, a legion of light, you know, a group of people that exude the light, like Illuminati, it's all the same thing. They're all told that they are the chosen people. That's the trick. That's the trick. And it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. So that's why I'm glad that, you know, a brother like yourself can come on here and do a presentation like this. And, you know, I've always told people, especially with the Bible, like I don't even know what your present. I've seen your work before. Like I said, I wouldn't have brought you on. I don't know what I've seen you do many different texts, religious texts. You know what I mean? So, but I've always told people from my experience, like the Bible is literally an onion. It's so many layers. It's not just one thing. It's not just two things. Now, am I advocating for it and saying it's the way? Like, man, it's no different than a baby reading a Dr. Seuss book. If it's not inspiration for that toddler to do right by it, it doesn't matter. People ask me all the time, Chief, do you think Emmanuel was a real man? And I tell them all the time, it doesn't matter. What is it doing for you? Has it made you the best you? And ultimately, are you still making him, the book, anything external? Are you making it your idol, your God? Because God, even the word God is an idol, but the what we know is God.
The word God is dog backwards, and that goes back to the worship of Anubis.
That and Sirius and all that, and the reason they would worship Sirius, that's connected to Osiris, was because different cultures embrace in different what we call planets today. Planets, they used to call them wandering stars. Planet is a new word like Jesus and Lucifer, or a new title, I should say. Then it was wandering stars, but more accurately, they're wandering suns. They're literally sons. That's where sons of God and all that.
I love when they show the picture of the 7 planets in like a textbook, and they're all perfectly round. I'm sitting there like 4 of them are gas. Like, how is it possible that they shape perfectly? Like, why doesn't anybody think? It's
and if you get a device, especially, I always make sure that I put emphasis on an older telescope, because all the new ones are digital and they have a software program already in them that automatically translates the frequency, the photons, into a still image. So I've seen people on Facebook zooming in to Saturn and stuff, and it looks just like Saturn. They tell you with the rings just sitting still. But if you
that was the problem with the Nikon 1000 camera, is because it would zoom into the stars and they were looking like the Orifim.
Exactly. And that's what it is. It's a signature. It's what signature is, just nature sign. It's the light signature that is being emanated from that particular source. And I got some things I definitely know that I can feel is going to get, because it was placed on my heart before we even came on. And I don't even think about this kind of stuff, and it just boom came on me. That's why I told you I was running a few minutes behind, because I'm just getting, it's all just like I said. I prefer what I say is the greatest of spirit, the great spirit. But it's not an external thing. I always tell people that, they ask me, well, what do you, when you say great spirit, what do you mean? I liken it to an umbilical cord connecting us to source. So we're not disconnected. We're still connected. And the great spirit is just that energy that is in you, but it can also transfer to others, and it comes directly from source. And it's what connects us to our mother.
When you leave your body, when you astral project, or when you nighttime and you disassociate from your body, it's the silver cord that attaches your ethereal body to your actual body. And they say that if you sever that cord, you can't go back.
Yep, the Tibetan monks, some have severed that cord, and they'll literally go into kind of like a coma state, and that's the ones you see that are like 110 years old in a bed, and they'll have their eyes open and everything, and they might
the mummified ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different stories about that, but you're absolutely right. And that silver cord is esoterically linked to the moon because the moon is the reflection of us, the collectively, that on the X-ray light level. But the ancestors linked the moon to the Great Mother a lot because of the cycles. But what a lot of people don't know is because people say, "Well, Chief, I've heard, you know, different tribes say there wasn't always a moon here," and that's correct because the moon is a mechanism to delay manifestation, and that's and not to prolong your presentation, but the moon is this whole realm is basically training to come down here. Somebody asked me this in the comments the other day. They still can't understand why we need to purge the tour of the purge, aka purgatory, the purge of tours. Well, if they say if our soul is perfect, or but you have to understand, for us to be whole, completely whole, and know all, be all, and all, just be the all, you also have to know what ignorance is. You have to experience ignorance, or you're not the all. You're not you are not the all. You're lacking. You're 99.9% what we would call source. If you have not experienced what it feels like not to be source and make your way back up, that's what this is all about. And that for those that ask the question, why are we here then, this and that, and why do we got to purge? Because we've come down here. It's a step, and plus you got to realize we're in eternity. Do you think you're gonna go sit on a beach for eternity? Too much of anything is not good for you. Like your favorite meal, like, are you gonna eat whatever for every day, every meal for eternity? Are you gonna stay here for eternity? No. Like that's that's why I would say the origin of eternal soul, life, light, and rest. People always leave that rest out, man. It's you can make the free will decision to rest. What is loosed in the heavenly realms is loosed in the earthly realm. As above, so below. You rest down here, you can rest in the heavenly realms as well. You don't always got to be active, participating in all this stuff. You can rest, and it's all about free will. But without further ado, I'm ready to get into your presentation. So let my
Chief,
go ahead.
Chief, check it out. I'm gonna be focusing on my PowerPoint. So if you're trying to get my attention, I'm not gonna see you doing any of this. So just speak over me, and I'll pause.
Gotcha.
If you want to interject, because I have a lot of stuff that I want to share, and this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be very
no doubt.
Okay,
all right.
So we just need to share it for everyone.
Okay, let's see. My son is helping me out as always.
Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to start. So before I start anything, I just want to share that the Holy Bible is made up of 12 holy sciences. The scriptures are metaphysical, astrological. That's the one I'm going to focus on. And when I go through this entire presentation, I want you to remember that I'm only going into one. Anatomical, alchemical, spiritual, esoteric, and mythology. The Bible is not literal, history, reality, and it's not original. The Bible is also gematria, etymology, numerology, symbology, and psychedelic. So before I go into the astrological ones, I want to share with you a numerology example. John 21:11. So Simon Peter climbed back in the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. So they mentioned the 153. Well, this here is the Vesica Pisces, and Pisces being the two fish. Now, the center of it is the Vesica Pisces. It's two interconnecting circles right here. Now, if I just literally do this, I'm sure you've seen the symbol before, which is where it comes from. This would be the one fish, and this would be the two fish. So this is the two fish because it's the Vesica Pisces. Now the Vesica Pisces, the center here, the mathematical equation is 265 over the 153, which also happens to be a Fibonacci number. So this is where they get the 153 from with this.
Brother Micah.
Yeah.
That is so incredible that you would start your presentation out with that, because that was one of the things that was just given to me about 10 minutes before we just came on, about Pythagoras, who the most sacred number to Pythagoras was 153. And that is exactly the ratio of height to length of the Vesica Pisces. And it was called the measure of the fish 300 or more years before the incarnation of the person we're told is Jesus. So this was the thing 300 to 400 years prior to the incarnation of Jesus. Okay. So when he says in the scripture, cast your net to the right, and they caught 153 fish, what he's talking about is these two circles. One represents the sacred masculine energy, intellect, intel, information. One represents intuition, imagination, the Magi nation.
The left versus the right brain. And if you want to think about it in simple ways, the lawyer is the left brain, the artist is the right brain.
Yes. A lot of people, and I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people get it kind of confused and ask me, especially men in this moment, in this age, the closing out of this energy. A lot of people are taking it, like you said, and what you just touched on about the Bible, the 12, the 12 sciences, and one of them is not literal. And people are taking it literal, so they think when I'm saying sacred feminine and sacred masculine that I'm talking about women and men. It's not that. Now, when I say the matriarch, yes, that was that. I'm talking about a time where basically in this circle, if you put the woman in the middle and the children, then the men have no other place except to be on the outside of the circle, as it should be. Why wouldn't you want? See, when they changed it to the brotherhoods and the patriarchy, you got the man in the middle and the women and children on the outside.
Right.
That's why you see all
they conveniently leave Asherah out. Nobody talks about Asherah anymore, the wife of God.
Brother, you are touching on everything that I just got unveiled before this, and we're gonna get into it, but that's crazy, because that's literally like the last thing I have written down about the Pythagoras and the 153, which equals 9. And there's so many other things, but I'm gonna let you go ahead, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna touch on them.
Okay, so beautiful. So what I want to do for you guys is I'm going to prepare you for what I'm going to show, because as I teach this for you guys, what you're going to say is, all right, I see the patterns, I'm seeing what you're saying, but what is the point of it? So let me explain that ahead of time. What is the point of my presentation? We take for granted we have calendars, clocks, watches, weathermen. The ancients didn't have any of that. They had sundials. In the Bible, they worked on dream interpretations for harvest. They had to know things. They needed to know Taurus is when you put the plow on the bull and plant, as above, so below. Astrologically, the Bible is an encoded farmer's almanac, and was the knowledge of staying alive the most important thing.
Micah, you're cutting out. You're cutting in and out a little bit. Go back to the Taurus. Start from where you were saying about the Taurus.
Okay. They needed to know Taurus was when you put the plow on the bull and plant, as above, so below. The Bible, astrologically, is an encoded farmer's almanac, and was the knowledge of staying alive the most important thing. They would look at the stars and see all this movement and make up stories about them and pass it down to their children. then them to their children. Eventually, they learned how to write and wrote them down, and it evolved from Sumerian to Babylonian to Egyptian to Judaism in the Old Testament, then to the Christians, then to the Muslims in the Quran, the Book of Mormon. It's in everything. And I like to say this quote a couple of times throughout the presentation because it's really going to hit home. My point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. Are you hearing me okay?
I agree.
Okay, beautiful.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And that's a straightforward way to, that's a very blunt way to put it, but I agree. And again, that goes with the over embracing of the patriarchal energy. And it's not even, and what I teach here is there's a difference between divine masculine and divine feminine and sacred masculine and sacred feminine. See, the divine comes from the Sumerian, that word didn't even come in until the Sumerian and the Mesopotamians and all of that, and that's pretty much where we see the patriarchy coming in, unless you go back to Atlantis. I just wanted to throw that in there. So it pretty much has a lot to do with the overwhelming masculine energy with basically no feminine energy when it comes to the systems that are controlling and ruling over us, which the Bible calls principalities. No, they're man-made energies, which I taught on the last teaching for everyone that was there.
Okay, so this is the zodiac wheel. This is how it should look. Cancer at the top. This denotes summer. This is spring. This is winter. This is fall. When you connect them, it forms a cross. This is the cross of God's Son, S-U-N, that he carries to his death. Now, what I want to show you with this is there's patterns that you're going to see that I make. For example, if I'm talking about Gemini, there's what's known as connecting signs. That would be Taurus right here, and that would be Cancer right here. Those are two patterns you can make. The other pattern you can make is you can go across the wheel to its opposing sign or cross sign. And you'll find that when I'm decoding these scriptures, they're making these exact patterns. It's not going from Aquarius to Libra, which doesn't make a pattern. It's always making these connecting or opposing patterns. That's how you know it was done intentionally. So there's questions in the Bible that you can ask. How Jesus was able to heal.
Real quick, if I could add to that, a lot of people wonder why people will say, well, why? Well, because it's a reflection. Normally when it's the other sign, it's a reflection, and the reflection is what we call the planet that is shared by these sun signs, which were called gates by the ancestors. And this goes back to, and it's very relevant, being that Easter is coming up,
right?
4,000, 5,000 BC with Ishtar, who was the most revered deity of Babylon, Assyrian culture. And Dumuzi, before that in Mesopotamia was Dumuzi, but in Babylon was Tammuz. And I find the perfect segue moment to jump in with that. But I just want to add that people don't recognize why. So it's like, so I'm Virgo, my son's Gemini. We share Mercury in the middle. So Mercury is our gate, and that has an energy signature, which is communication, or Hermes Trismegistus, or Thoth, Tahuti, and this and that. And that is thought into speech, into being a messenger. You know what I mean? So it's all about energy. And people have taken this, what is above, brought it down here and made it into literal gods and religions to the point where they'll kill you. They'll murder whole regions of people and everything up off of something that started as a clock, as the original clock, a cosmic clock and everything. These people are literally killing each other over time. That's why a lot of them revere, not the only reason, but a big reason why they revere Saturn, because it's time, and they understand that time is the thing that it's all about here. You know, the dragon got great wrath because he knows his time is short and everything, you know. But that's amongst other things.
Okay. I love it. So the questions that you can ask in the Bible, for example, how Jesus was able to heal the blind, how he walked on water, how he turned water into wine, why he had 12 disciples, why was he betrayed with a kiss by Judas, why was he dead for 3 days, why is his birthday on December 25th? All that is astrology, and I'm going to show you that. Now, Genesis 1:14 says, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years." And boom, that's exactly what it is. Now, each zodiac sign is called a house, or an era, or an eon, or a sign, or a mansion. There's different words that they use in the Bible to do this. So what I'm going to do for your listeners right now, I'm going to start with Aquarius, but I'm going to explain to them in detail the 12 zodiac signs. Each of them are going to have keywords that attach to the sign, which y'all will agree with. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. We're going to use those keywords to find patterns in every ancient holy text. So when I start with Aquarius, the first sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man. Now, technically, Aries begins the year, and even further back, the year begins in Virgo in Egypt, the grain harvest. That's why the sun comes to an end in July, and then a brand new sun is born to a virgin. That's what it comes to. But so it goes back to Aries, and then further back to Virgo. But I start with Aquarius, you'll see why. So the story of Aquarius, one of its earliest iterations, or an earlier iteration, is the story of Zeus and the young boy. So the story of Zeus and the young boy basically goes like this. Zeus saw a young boy on Earth. I think they mentioned he was like a 14-year-old blonde boy, I believe, on Earth. And he thought he was beautiful, and he wanted him up on Mount Olympus with him. Which, incidentally, I don't know if your listeners know this, but Mount Olympus is actually a literal place on Earth. And none of the Greeks, when they were worshiping these gods on Mount Olympus, ever thought to climb it and see if they were up there. Which I don't know why, but which is crazy. Anyway, so he wants him on Mount Olympus, but the boy's father won't let him go. So Zeus ends up bargaining with him. He gives him land, money, all this sort of stuff. The boy goes up. While he's there, he's feeding the gods out of this water pitcher something called ambrosia, which was the nectar that the gods drank. And he's doing this day in and day out, and it's just so monotonous. Every single day he's doing this. One day he gets so fed up, he goes to the edge, and he pours it out, just like in this picture, which causes a flood. This is where the Greeks get their flood story from. Zeus, who's usually a malevolent, kind of sexually deviant, he's just an unpredictable god, was going to punish him. But in a moment of self-reflection, he was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have brought the boy up. He had friends and he had So instead of punishing him, he immortalizes him as the constellation Aquarius. So the key words for Aquarius would be man, because Aquarius is the sign of the man, whereas Virgo is the sign of the woman, the virgin that I just mentioned. Baptism, because this is how you baptize someone. You just put somebody under this water. Water pitcher, because this is a water pitcher. Fountain, because the Greek fountains and statues were built like this. And all water bodies: stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea. Now, Aquarius is an air sign. It's not actually a water mutable sign. But because there's water right here in it, they used it to encode. Whereas if you go to Pisces, which is the sign of the two fish literally in the water, Pisces is a mutable water sign. All the water examples go: stream, river, pond, lake, sea, ocean. So that's why I start with Aquarius, because Aquarius water, Pisces water. And whether you're talking about Aquarius or Pisces water depends on the patterns it's going to make in the heavens through scripture, which you'll see. Now, Aries is the ram. And Aries,
Micah,
Yeah.
Think about this. You know how anyone here should be at the level now where you know who you've heard of Dagon,
Yeah.
and how the Catholic Church embraces Dagon and everything. Well, the water god or Dagon, if you go back to Mesopotamia, originally was the god of the Absu, or Ea. It's spelled Ea, but it's pronounced Ya. A lot of
Well, that
people
makes
don't know
sense
that.
because in during the Middle Ages in English, EA meant water. So that makes sense.
See, I love this. I love bouncing up, off each other. So EA, a lot of people say like Ea or E. People don't
Right.
know. It was pronounced Iya. So and later, in the name for Lucifer was originally Hallel, and as far as you can go back. So when people say Hallelujah, they're
Right.
literally talking about the entity we know predominantly as Enki. So Enki was originally the lord of the fresh water, or the god of water,
Right.
basically.
But you
And
also have Mithra, you have Leviathan. They were competing
all of it.
fish gods.
And the as it went from tribe to tribe, culture to culture, age to age. And this goes a lot with the teaching I did a few, like 2 nights ago. They pick up steam and they get more and more energy to the point where now this is the inerrant word of God now, when before it was just this tribe and this tribe. And so in that angle, the Catholic Church is diabolically geniuses. To be if we're going to be 100% realistic, they're diabolical, like the evil geniuses. And
Right. Well, the
so
Pope's mitre, right? If you take the Pope's mitre off and turn it to the side, it's a fish head.
yeah, that as well. And that also comes from back with the pharaohs. They had elongated skulls, and that comes from the beings that we call Anuna, that or Saturnians. That we'll jump into a whole nother realm of teaching with that one.
Right.
But 369 energy produces elongated skeletal systems and skulls and
Right.
things. But
Right.
so Iya later turned to Oannes, because Oannes was pronounced as Iya. I always get this wrong because it's a little tricky. Iyanis. So it's all the same thing, Oannes, and then Oannes is the original name for John the Baptist. And in
Right.
the Bible, it says, and they're both born of a virgin, both born to Mary, which Mary means the great, or mother, or water, like Mary, Maru.
Well, there's three Marys in the Bible. You can go backwards. Miriam, Mare, everything.
All
They're
that.
all
So
named Mary. They're all named Mary.
and Christ, many call him Jesus. I say Emmanuel, but so Emmanuel says there's not none greater than born of the womb man than John the Baptist. So that literally is the God of water and the sun God. So
Right.
Jesus and John the Baptist is the sun God and the water God. And it's
Exactly.
just passed on through generations and ages and ages.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Okay, so in Aries you have the Ram, and in Aries you have March 21st, which just happened 10 days ago, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. There's 3 different Passovers that occur during Aries. The first and the oldest is the astrological one, because on the 21st, that is the day the sun will pass over the equator and start to make its way to its height in the summer solstice. The Judaism, the pass over is when the angel of death passes over all the houses in Egypt. Anyone that doesn't have the lamb's blood sacrificed, by the way, the lamb is a baby ram. They're identifying themselves as the people of Aries, whereas the Egyptians were the people of Taurus. Their firstborn sons get killed. Anyone that hasn't smeared the lamb's blood. Incidentally, the Jews are the people of Aries. This is why they blow the ram's horn during the high holidays. Now, in Christianity, this Passover is changed, and it's called the Resurrection of God's Sun, S-U-N, not S-O-N. And when is the resurrection of God's Son? Well, that's Easter. Well, Easter is astrological too. How do you figure out when Easter is? Well, it's real simple. You have the spring equinox, then you have a full moon, and then the first Sunday after that full moon is Easter every year. That's how they do it. So the days may change.
All lunar. It's a moving feast, they call it. So and it's all based on lunar. Again, as I stated in the last teaching, the original first verse of the Bible was 28. 7 words with 28 letters. That's the lunar cycle. So they're telling you they're a lunar.
That's the turtle shell.
Say it again.
It's the turtle shell, 13 and 28.
Exactly. This is knowledge of the ancestors, and it's a beautiful moment to be here. And I'm not trying to give credit to you or I, but it's a beautiful moment for everyone to be here to just get this. I mean, if you try to tell this to somebody, like, and I'm so grateful that my earthly father is still incarnated here, and it's the last living elder that I have in my, you could say avatar bloodline or DNA light code bloodline, but he's still here. But he comes on and he'll come to my platform and he'll read the comments, but he don't really, he can't really grasp the level of these teachings because it wasn't for that generation. See, generation is just the gene rationing. I mean, I don't like using the word time, but everyone is here for a time such as this. So everyone here right now is meant to be here now. And I always stress that now is the most important moment ever. Because eternity is the eternal now. It's not the worrying about the future or worrying about the past and which tribe and bloodline you come from and arguing. Now, when we teach these things and we're just presenting them, that's a little different. That's just someone that's simply seeking the truth. But when you're out, on the street corner and you got a megaphone and you're yelling at people and telling them that they're, not even, they were made by a big head scientist named Jacob, and you don't, you don't have a soul and things like that. Like you just have went somewhere totally too far with it.
Okay. So Taurus is the bull, and this is as above, so below personified. When you look at the sky and you see the bull during the season where it's supposed to be, you have to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra, which we'll get to. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow, they're talking about Taurus. Remember, we have John Deere equipment and all sorts of farming equipment now that does it. When they wrote these holy texts thousands of years ago, they used the bull. So Gemini.
And Mike, I'm sorry I'm jumping in so frequent, man. Like you said, I've been waiting on this stream too as well. And how we were talking about earlier, how the signs crisscross, how you're never going to just be picking them random, how they crisscross, how I said it's usually what they call the gate, how you said mansion, this and that, and it'll be what we call planet today. Well, Taurus shares Venus with Libra. So the bull, when they're plowing and it got the horns, well, the harvest got the scales. It looks like the horns too. So it's the same.
I'm a Libra sun and a Taurus moon. I've got double Venus, and Venus is the goddess of love. So I do what I do out of love.
See that? And that also embodies the number 6, where everybody thinks 6 is this evil number and this and that, and it's really not. But the Taurus and Libra both are mirrored by Venus, and they both have the bull has the horns and Taurus has the scales, but it's the same, primarily the same shape. You get what I'm saying? And that happens a lot on as far as the symbology and everything.
Okay. So Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy. Remember this name for later. I'm going to show you something crazy. Whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's a story of Achilles. This is another Greek story. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, they're talking about Gemini here. Now, Cancer is the crab. The crab in the ancient Egyptian time was known as the scarab. We get the word crab from scarab. In fact, the only difference that really changed from the Egyptian zodiac into the modern day zodiac for all of eternity, the zodiac has been pretty much the same. Ophiuchus aside, because I'm going to touch base on that later, the two major differences from the Egyptian zodiac to any time besides that is the crab was the scarab, the beetle. It was revered. And the Sphinx was in place of Leo the lion. But besides that, it's pretty much stayed the same. So Cancer is the crab, and I'm going to show you why. Starting on December 25th, the sun is going to rise a degree on its axis. Now, please excuse me. This is not to scale. I'm just showing you what it's doing. December 26th, it's going to rise a degree on its axis. December 27th, it's going to rise another degree. 28th, another degree. Every day, it's going to rise a degree on its axis every single day until it hits here. That is the summer solstice. That's the first day of Cancer, June 21st. What it's then going to do is for 3 consecutive days, it's not going to rise a degree or drop a degree. What it's going to do is it's going to walk sideways, just like the crab walks sideways. That's why it's Cancer. Then on June 25th, it's going to drop a degree. Then the 26th, another degree, another degree. Now the nights are getting longer, the days are getting shorter. When it hits all the way down here, right here, that is December 21st. That is the day the sun dies, because the ancients would look out on the first day of winter and they would notice the sun didn't crack the horizon. So the ancients used to say that God's sun was dead. Then it's going to walk sideways for 3 days like the crab. So suddenly God's sun was dead for 3 days. Where on December 25th, the sun comes back to life. It's born again. The light of the world, the only begotten sun, comes back to life. This is why all the ancient gods are born on December 25th. So,
and I want to add the how they would measure this, especially going back to ancient Kemet or Tamara. They would measure it, like you said, but because of those 3 days, they had every 3 days they had something called a deacon. So they would have 3.
I'm going to get into that.
Okay, so I won't say too much, but that's how they would measure it with deacons. So the word church comes from Kirk or Circe or circle. So this is your church, and the deacon.
Well, who was Circe? It goes back to Circe, and then it goes back to Ceres. Who was that? Well, that was the woman that would lure men into her house, hypnotize them, and eat them.
It's wild how it all just comes together. So church literally means circle, same as chakra, the wheel, the energy. So the 7 seals, 7 chakras, 7 churches. This is the first church. This is the church. And zodiac, the ancient word for zodiac is Zoion. So when they're talking about Mount Zion, this is what they're talking about. This is Mount Zion. This is the church of Zion. This is the Zionists, the people that know this and are using the energy of this to basically subdue the entire population. You want to know how 99% of people are being subdued by 1%? Because they're using the real church, the real circle, and the deacons that are. So you got a deacon in your church that come take you to your seat. They got deacons and stuff that took them to the energy and guided them through the energy and knew when to do. I mean, it goes for, we use it in the most logical ways, like when to plant, when to do this, that, but trust and believe they were using this when to do what we call magic, which really is just a level of science that you cannot fathom currently. And building, you want to know how they built pyramids and sphinxes and this and that. It's all off energy. And the deacons is a big, as a matter of fact, you want to know who all those people are in them hieroglyphs and stuff? Most of them are deacons, because in the Egyptian mythology, I would say more than 50% of the time, the deacons were actually more important than the the ones that represented the whole sign. The deacons actually, because it would be like a cult that would like of Hathor or the Hathors and things like that. Just wanted to add that.
Thanks, brother. So Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle, the king of the savannah, whatever you want to call it. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. The sun only rules over Leo. So whenever you hear lion, lioness, or cub, you're talking about Leo. Now, Virgo is the woman holding the stalk of wheat right here that I'm highlighting. The reason before that is when we said that you plant in Taurus, well, the virgins would go out and cultivate the wheat during Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear Virgo or woman, because this is the sign of the woman, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, these are all grainy things that thousands of years ago in the northern hemisphere, very important, in the northern hemisphere, were all cultivated during Virgo. Now, Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over, technically passes under, the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. The Jews always celebrate the new year around the fall equinox. I'll give you an example. Chief, in 2023, 2 years ago, the Jewish New Year was September 15th. That's right in the middle of Virgo. Well, 8 days after the Jewish New Year, it's always 8 days, there's a holiday called Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement or Judgment. Well, count 8 days from September 15th, that's September 23rd. That's the first day of Libra. Of course, the Day of Judgment has to take place during Libra. So all law-related things, law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, law-related things. Libra's also wine season. This is when you pluck the grapes and you press the wine. So wine, vineyard, wine press. Also,
you just said so much. I was going to add, and I lost my first train of thought because you just said so much. The 8th, think about it. October, Oct is 8. So that was at one point the 8th month, the 8th moon. Okay, so that's what month is month. So the 8th moon, and you can see again the scales are an 8 on the side, and as you said, they have the 8-day cycle. Now a lot of people don't know this. The 8-day cycle is the solar lunar cycle combined. Is how the ancient over here on Turtle Island, down all the way from North America all the way down to South America, would figure out the eclipses. The 8-day cycle is the eclipse cycle, when the solar cycle and the lunar cycle meet up. So
it's funny because a lot of people, we have this thing called chronological ethnocentrism, which that phrase basically means, for anyone that doesn't know it, is that we think that people in the past are dumber than us, and that's literally not true. In fact, we're getting dumber as a society as time goes on. People don't realize that the shape of not the shape of the Earth, but how wide the Earth is, how many miles the Earth is at its equator, was first calculated in Egypt with a stick and a shadow.
Yeah, they still do that to this day. That's basically we just got more advanced things. When you see the guys on the side of the road with the yellow equipment, I can't remember the name, but with the yellow equipment and everything, the surveyors on the side of the road, that's basically essentially what they're doing. What I was going to say about the Libra, that's also, you're telling the story of Samson when he went into Virgo with his hair locks, which he had 8 locks, and he went into the woman's house and told her his secret, and then he got judged, got his hair cut off.
Yeah. Well, even further than that, Chief, the story of Samson in Hebrew, Samson's name is Shimshon. If you translate it, it means little son. Delilah, the root of Delilah in Hebrew is Lila, which means night. So you have the little sun and the night. What happens? He goes blind, right? It's the story of the night overtaking the day.
I love it. And Samson is also Masons. So the Masons have a lot to do with the architecture, not only of what do they call it, speculative masonry, and the other one I can't remember, like hands-on. They're not only the architecture of buildings and stuff, they are the scribes and the architectures of a lot of these stories and things, because as I said, I everyone knows my status when it comes to that, but the Masons began as Ma's sons, and it wasn't anything evil. It was nothing like that. It was a group of people that was hiding, not hiding, keepers of the flame, basically, to pass it on from a lot of people that were drunkards and things like that, that if you gave it to them and entrusted it with them, in one generation, it would all be gone.
But in the Bible, Jesus talks about tossing pearls to swine.
Exactly. The bad part about it is, just like everything else, it got infiltrated. Just like everything we do, it gets infiltrated. And really, that comes off of pride and greed. And you can see it even as simple with YouTubers. You can see a YouTuber that starts out very humble, very, very humble, with a couple thousand followers. Let them get a couple 100,000 or even 1 million, and see if they're that same person you go back 10 years before, and see if you're watching the same energy. It's very rare that that's the case.
So I mentioned all law-related things. So all law-related things, all wine or grape-related things. It's also olive season. This is when you crash the olives to make the holy oil. So law, wine, and olives, Libra. So I'm not expecting you guys to remember these keywords, and I know we're doing a lot of back and forth talking as I go through these 12 signs. I don't expect you to remember the words. All I want you to do is, as I'm going through my presentation, you to go, I remember him saying that. That is all. That is all I need from you. And then you can always rewatch this if you care. Now, Scorpio is the scorpion. He is the betrayer. When a scorpion attacks you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. This is why the mafia has what's known as the kiss of death. And it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So the sun is judged in Libra. It is betrayed in Scorpio. And then here's Sagittarius. This is where the man with the bow and the arrow shoots the sun, effectively killing it. Why? Because the day of death is December 21st. That is the last day of Sagittarius. It cannot rise any lower. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, or horseman, that's Sagittarius. Finally, Capricorn is the goat, and he's down here. So watch with me while I do this. The sun is climbing a degree a day, remember? Starting December 25th. That's in Capricorn. A degree a day every single day. It starts the climb up what is known as the Great Mountain, or the Zodiac. That's what it was called, the Great Mountain. And the reason it's the goat is because the mountain goats climb the mountain better than any animal. So it starts basically the sun coming back to life. So those are the 12 signs. Now, there's names in church that Jesus is given as the Son, S-U-N, of God. So check this out. When the sun is in Capricorn, the goat, he is the scapegoat of Israel. When the sun is in Aquarius, the sign of the man, he is the son of man. When the sun is in Pisces, the fish, two fish, he's the fisher of men, and it's why he feeds the masses with two fish. When the sun is in Aries, the ram, he is the Lamb of God, or the Good Shepherd. Cancer is the scarab. You know, I get a lot of Christians that quote St. Augustine to me, but St. Augustine famously called Jesus the good beetle because he knew that when the sun, or Jesus, is in Cancer, he's the scarab. When the sun is in Leo, the lion, he is the Lion of Judah. The lady holding the stalk of wheat, Virgo, he's born of a virgin, and he's called the bread of life. Libra is the scales of justice. He's known as the just one. He's betrayed in Scorpio. He dies in Sagittarius December 21st. So all death in the zodiac occurs December 21st. And it's also why he's worshipped on the sun day. So let's start going into scripture and placing this. Deuteronomy 32. He gave them honey from the cliffs and olive oil from the rocky ground. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. He gave them lambs and goats. They had the best rams from Bashan and the finest wheat. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. But Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. So let's break this down. He gave them honey. Right here in Cancer, there is a group of stars called the beehive cluster. So that's where the honey comes from. That is the beginning of summer right here in Cancer. In fact, the beehive cluster further back was actually called the manger. So go figure.
And that's
so
also
honey,
when honey is mainly bottled. It's not when it begins getting produced, but that's mainly when they start bottling it as well. Just want to add that.
And he gave olive oil, that's Libra, from the rocky ground. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk. So milk right here, Sagittarius right here, there is something called the Milky Way galaxy. The center is in Sagittarius. So right here, the beginning of summer to the beginning of winter, this is your land of milk and honey. It's not a place on earth. It's the zodiac. It's half the year is what they're showing you. He gave them lambs, that's Aries, and goats, that's Capricorn. They had the best rams, that's Aries, from Bashan, and the finest wheat, Virgo holding the wheat stalk. They had the best wine made from the juice of red grapes. Well, that's Libra. And the bull here is Taurus. There's 10 signs in Deuteronomy 32. So now what I want to do is I want to show you how
Can you go back to that slide real quick? Now, okay. I was going to say, if you think about it, almost everything mentioned needs the sun to make it. Like even the fermentation of the grapes and everything, all of that is connected to the sun.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Gospel of John, right? I'm going to show you the book of Matthew. We're going to go through that entire thing. But the Gospel of John ends with Jesus saying it is finished. Well, what is finished? His work? No. Right before then, they gave him a branch full of wine. He took a sip of it and he said, it is finished. It's fermented. I'm done.
My man took a final shot and said, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of here.
That's right. So the Mount of I'm going to show you how we're going to start using this zodiac wheel to decode. I'm going to use the wheel now. Jesus led his disciples to the Mount of Olives. Oh, no, hold on. I have to change this. There we go. Mount of Olives after his last Passover, so he could teach them a few more things, pray, then wait for Judas to betray him. While walking to the Mount of Olive, he gave the parable of the true vine. Okay, so let's show you this. Passover takes place here in Aries. Okay, so after that, he's walking to the Mount of Olives. Well, olives are Libra. That's its opposing sign. Now, while you're in Libra, you're waiting for the betrayal. Who's the betrayer? Well, that's Scorpio. That's the next sign over. But they're very clear on this, where they say that they're waiting for the betrayal. So he hasn't been betrayed. So we can remove that. So you're still in Libra. While you're in Libra, he gives the parable of the true vine. That has to do with the grapes. That has to do with connecting, and then you go code things, and we're going to get much deeper with it. Revelation 4:7. The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. The first living creature was like a lion. That's Leo. The second was like an ox. That's Taurus. The third had a face like a man. That's Aquarius. Aquarius and Leo are opposing signs. The fourth was like a flying eagle. In astrology, the Scorpio scorpion is the belly-crawling creature. It's the lowest form of life on earth. In fact, in the Garden of Eden, the first thing that God does before kicking Adam and Eve out after the deception was he takes the legs away from the snake, so it has to slither on its belly. In Mexico, during Santo de la Muerte, men get up and they dress up in a suit and tie, and they get on their hands and knees and they crawl on their belly to church. It's a low form of life. It's a humbling thing. But the ascendant of Scorpio, also known as its evolved form, is the eagle. The eagle is the highest flying form of life on Earth. That's how it metaphorically evolves. So the eagle becomes Scorpio. So this is Scorpio, the eagle, and Taurus are opposing signs.
I also
Leo,
would like to
Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio are the 4 fixed signs. So let's show you
the
this.
signs that you just went over.
There's 12 zodiac signs. There is 4 seasons. So season.
I'm sorry. I must have a severe delay. What I was going to say is the verse that you just showed, it was 7-4. Well, that again is the lunar cycle, the 7-4, and the signs you mentioned make the X, which is also the symbol of the Great Mother, or and the lunar. You know, it's connected to the moon, basically.
So you have spring, fall, summer, winter. This is the X that the fixed signs make. In astrology, you have 12 signs, and you have 3 signs in each season. So there's 4 seasons. So 4 times 3 is 12. Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries start the 3. These are known as the cardinal signs. That's why there's cardinals in church. Now, if I were to take one of these signs, you can split them into 3 10-day segments called deacons, which is why you have deacons and cardinals in church. We touched base on that earlier. So what is there to know? Well, this is the cardinal sign. The next one is the fixed sign. So this right here is summer, these 3 signs. Leo is the fixed sign because it's fixed. It's in the middle of both. So it's in the dead of the season. Taurus is dead of spring, summer, fall, winter. So that being said, either there's going to be a 4-headed creature that many people believe it's going to be in the heavens, or it's literally just making this pattern in the zodiac. So in Ezekiel 10:14, each of the cherubim had 4 faces. One face was that of a cherub, the second the face of a human being, the third the face of a lion, and the fourth the face of an eagle. If you've ever seen Ezekiel's wheel, what you do is you see Ezekiel looking at God and the sun, because God was the sun, and then to the right of it is what's known as the tetramorph. It was the 4-headed animal that they talk about. That's the fixed signs. And then to the right of it, they show an oraphim. So if I do Revelation 12, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. So, a woman clothed with the sun is the sun clothed in Virgo. It's a metaphor for the sun being in Virgo. Now, if the sun is in Virgo, the moon will be at her feet. So let's watch this real quick. If the sun is in Virgo, the moon will be at her feet. This is also a clock. Down here, Capricorn, this is 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. Virgo is 4 to 6. If it's between 4 to 6, the sun is still out. So if the sun is still out, the moon is at her feet. It's a metaphor. Just like now, it's dark. The moon is up, so the sun is at her feet. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous dragon. Its tail, which I'm highlighting right here, swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. Well, the constellation Draco is the dragon. Its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius, which is literally a third of the stars out of the sky. So this is just celestial poetry is what they're showing you.
Someone in the chat made a comment. Okay, so what is let me be correct about it. It says, okay, so what is the message? And And I replied, just be patient. But I'm only answering for myself. What I have found is it's explaining, just like in my tribal roots, it's explaining the sun cycle. Okay, that's what it is. It's encoded into the scripture, so we know when what's called the changeover event happens, which is now the closest thing to it known to man is called the Hopi prophecy. Incorrectly, it's not the Hopi prophecy. They're just the most recent ones to have it. There is no prophecy. Prophecy does not exist. It's a cycle. It's something that was observed by the ancestors and they pass it on through like this. That is the reason for this. It's just like a story to children. You can't. Would it be easier for you to teach a child the ABCs, saying A B C D E F G H, or if you have a song on A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P? Half of them think elemental P is one doggone thing for many years. That's what this is about. It's to get you to subconsciously learn something instead of thinking you got to figure it out with intellect. It will literally hit your soul. It will pass through the indoctrination and the subjugation of what's happening in the material realm. And it's a way for it to bypass all that into the right side. That's why everything is about the right side. Cast your net to the right to enter to the middle chamber of the Temple of Solomon that was built with no tools and no sound. And we know that God dwelleth not in temples made by man's hands. To enter to the middle chamber, you have to come through the right winding stairway. Everything is about the right. In the wilderness, what you would call the JEWs today, but they were called Yahwist and Jacobites back then. They would set up their camp in a cross, and not the cross with the elongated thing at the bottom, the cross that Brother Micah is showing you of the Zodiac. They would set up the camp as a cross, and the tribe of Judah was set up to the east every time. And they tell you in the book of Numbers that their population was 186,400, what just so happens to be the speed of light in a vacuum. So just like he said earlier, we're fixated that people were so dumb and we're the smartest ones, but we got this book, no matter who it's from or what really happened, there's a message in there, and you're getting part of it right now. That's the point of it. You're getting an aspect. You're not going to be able to get it all from one teaching. That is what I said in the beginning of this message. And I'm not getting offended or anything. I know you can feel a little passion coming from my voice. It's because, like Brother Micah said, we do this out of love, like truly. It's not about money. It's not about this, that, recognition. I could care less about all that. I have my family. You guys know about my wife, but she ain't going nowhere. Separation is an illusion. It's the ill use of ions. That's all that is. So, we do this for you all. And because it's a passion that was put inside of us, and that is love. So that is the point of all this. So you can learn the truth.
That was very well said. So, okay. So behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So the sheep is Aries, and the wolf is the constellation Lupus, which is right here in Libra. It's an opposing sign. Now the serpent is Ophiuchus, which is the sidereal 13th sign, sits right here between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And Scorpio, one of its 8 evolved forms, along with, I didn't mention the phoenix, but also the eagle, is the dove. So Scorpio right here. So you have an opposing sign, and then you have 3 signs in a row.
And people
Now,
want
I've
to
given
know what
examples,
happened to
Vish.
the people want to know what happened to the 13 month, the lunar calendar. Well, Ophiuchus was part of that, but you have to understand that even with the lunar calendar, they used to have, well, there's two different moments depending on where you was at. Some had a 4-day period of celebration where they didn't even count the days towards the year. It was a 4-day celebration, and some had a 1-day celebration. But when you that's why Ophiuchus, those that do put it into the zodiac, it's not as long as all the other signs. Just want to add that in.
Beautiful. So I've given examples of astrotheology in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. So I've been accused of cherry picking verses from the Bible to prove a point. So let's start taking longer passages. What I'm going to read you now is the book of Job, when God answers Job. I'm going to read you his response. The first thing God says in Job 38:32, he says, "Can you lead forth the Mazzaroth?" The Mazzaroth is literally untranslated intentionally because they don't want you to know that the Mazzaroth means zodiac. Mazzaroth
Boom.
over time.
I said boom. That right there. There's been some people, some pretty good teachers that's been on the internet here lately saying that the zodiac started with the Greeks, and it's pretty much a new concept. It was never used ancient. The Greeks are the ones that made the Dendera zodiac in Egypt. No one ever used it before the Greeks, and this and that. But here we have the, you know, the oldest book in the scriptures, and you have the Mazzaroth, and it goes even
Exactly.
further back than that.
And even further than that, the word Mazzaroth over time evolved to Mazalot, which then evolved to Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov means good fortune from the stars. And you know how old Mazel Tov is, or how ancient of a word that is. So what is the Lord's challenge to Job? He openly has some celestial references here, which is what I've been showing you. Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Pleiades are in Taurus. Orion's belt is between Taurus and Gemini. Then he says, can you bring forth the constellation in their seasons or lead out the bear with its cubs? The constellation are the zodiac above. The bear and its cubs are Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and Ursa Minor, part of the Big Dipper. That's Gemini and Cancer.
And Brother Micah,
here we have Taurus and Gemini.
Look at Taurus and Gemini, right? And you see how you said it's, can you loosen Orion's belt? Now you know how the Great Pyramids are at one point was aligned with the 3 stars in Orion. That's because it was erected at the time coming from the age of Gemini to the age of Taurus.
Correct.
They were switching the energies the same way you spoke about earlier when it went from the age of Taurus, when they revered the golden bull, and it went to the age of Aries, the tribe of Aries blowing the shofar, because the people that take this information, this knowledge, and utilize it to the highest degree are the ones that the New World Order. They're the ones that keep control, just like the Piscean age was taken by the Church of the Fish, Dagon and John the Baptist, Oannes, and the church will be built on the foundation of the rock, the Jupiter, which rules the energy rules the age of Pisces. So the church was built on the energy of Jupiter Square in Vatican City. This is the truth about your Bible, folks. Okay. And this is, I love it.
So who could tip over the water jars of the heavens? That's literally Aquarius. Do you hunt the prey for the lions and satisfy for the hunger for the lions? That's Leo. So just so far, what we have here is we have Aquarius, and then we have 4 signs in a row. Connecting signs. These are very deliberate patterns that they have here. So, continuing. Who provides food for the raven? That's the constellation Corvus, which means raven and borders on Virgo. Do you watch where the doe bears her fawn? That's Mariga, meaning deer, and is located in Orion. Who let the wild donkey go free? That's Acellus Borealis, meaning donkey, and is located in Cancer. Will the wild ox consent to serve you? That's Taurus. The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully. That's Lambda Aquile or Al Thaliman, which means two ostriches in Arabic. Do you give the horse its strength? So we know it's Sagittarius because they mentioned the horse. But if you keep reading, it laughs at fear, afraid of nothing. It does not shy away from the sword. The quiver. They mentioned the quiver. What is the quiver? It sits on the side of the horse that holds the arrows so the horseman can shoot them. So this is Sagittarius. Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high? Aquila is the Latin name for eagle and is a constellation a few degrees above the celestial equator. Then he says, finally, can you pull in Leviathan, who was an ancient fish god, just like Mithra, just like Dagon, just like we explained before, with a fish hook, so that's Pisces. So let's see what we have now. We have these connecting signs. We have Sagittarius. We have 5 signs in a row. This is God's response to Job. He is telling you. He is outlining the heavens for you. That's what he's doing here. So, answer to the questions at the beginning. How Jesus was able to heal the blind. Well, the story goes that the blind man came up to Jesus, and Jesus goes, yeah, with your faith, I'll heal you. And then he gets some dirt rubbed on his eyes, and then when it falls off, he's able to see. But the sun does the same thing too, because it's 8:20 right now at night, and I'm looking outside, and I can't see anything. I'm blind. What has to happen is the sun has to come up in the morning and touch my eyes so that I can see again. How he walked on water. So Jesus walked on water in the story, but the sun also does, if you've ever seen the sun on a lake during a sunset before. In fact, Christos, the Jews wrote the New Testament in Greek. There were no Christians back then. The Jews wrote the New Testament in Greek. Christos means oil. Oil also walks on water. So Jesus walks on water, the sun walks on water, oil walks on water. This is a triple entendre. How he turned water into wine, this is not a parlor trick. This is a process. So the reason God is considered a man and Mother Earth is considered a woman has to do with one specific thing only, and it has to do with the rain, the sacred fluid. In Hebrew, the word is shemen. We get the word semen from it. So you have to think about this metaphorically, okay? God's the man. God's sacred fluid ejaculates onto earth. And then from her belly, food, plants, things grow. She gives birth to it. So what happens is, Taurus, you plant the seeds, and then April showers bring May flowers. That's Taurus. That's still Taurus, April, May. So what happens is it rains and it rains and it rains. You plant the grapes, and then you pick the grapes in Libra after it rains, and you crush them. That's how you make God's water into wine. Why he had 12 disciples? We didn't really go over this, but let me show you real quick how we can do that. Okay, Pisces, right here. Simon to Peter, right? Why is he called Peter? Well, I mean, Christopher goes to Chris, Thomas goes to Tom. These make sense, but Simon to Peter doesn't make sense unless you know astrology. The ruling planet of Pisces is Jupiter, or as Chief mentioned, Jupiter. And Simon was a fisherman, by the way, and the fish is Pisces. Then in Scorpio, you have here the betrayer. That's Judas. In Libra, right here, you have James. He's the just one. Right here in Gemini, you have Thomas Didymus, because in Hebrew, Ta'om or Tom means twin, whereas in Greek, Didymus means twin too. And then you have Aquarius right here. This is John the Baptist, literally baptizing people. I mean, it's all, the whole story is right here. I'm not going to do the rest of them. I just wanted to show you that. But why he was betrayed with a kiss, we went over that. Why was he dead for 3 days? We went over that. Why is his birthday on December 25th? We went over that. So, but it doesn't, let me explain this to you real quick. This science only works for people in the Northern Hemisphere, and there's a reason for that. The Egyptians, Jews, Christians, and Muslims are all based out of the Northern Hemisphere. For example, June 21st, the summer solstice, is actually the winter solstice in Australia and New Zealand, much of South Africa and South America. So the way that you use the wheel, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, for example, is, let's say Taurus right here, this is when you plant, right? In the Southern Hemisphere, everything is inverted, so you just have to go to its opposing sign, and what you would do is you would plant in Scorpio.
And there you go. And there you go. That actually shows that it's not only about the northern hemisphere, because all right, hold on.
Chief, where'd you go? We're having technical difficulties, people. I hope you're enjoying this. I haven't even really started to get into anything yet, to be honest with you. But we're going to get to it. We're going to make our way through. You guys are going to hang out. I don't know how long this episode is going to be, but Chief will come back. All right. So, should I continue? I can't see the chat, unfortunately. But yeah, let's not waste anything. So, but it doesn't stop there. It's not just random passages in the Bible that can be decoded this way. We're going to go through the entire book of Revelation to show how deep this runs. So hopefully Chief comes back. Probably had to restart his computer. I don't want him to miss this, to be honest with you. But oh, that's my mouse, okay. Let me see if I've got any chatter on Facebook while we wait for Chief. His insight is incredible, by the way. He's just got such great insight, great additional information to what I'm providing. It's tremendous. So Mr. Chief, come back, bud. Well, I'm still live. Should I continue? Oh, there he is. You back?
Yeah, man, this brother Micah, this happens every single time I go on. I do not know what the deal is, man. And it's not my equipment, it's not nothing. It's like every single teaching, in the heart of the teaching, something ridiculous happens. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, you're back. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do the book of Revelation. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We're going to do the book of Revelation now.
Okay.
So, Revelation 4:7. This is the four-headed creature. This is the fixed signs. I'm going to skip this because we did this already. Revelation 5:5. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." Well, the Lion of Judah is Leo, whose ruling planet is the sun. Revelation 6:1. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures. The 4 living creatures would be the fixed signs, by the way, guys, saying a voice like thunder, come. Well, guess what? The Lamb has to open the season because Aries begins the year. Aries begins the year, so the Lamb has to open the first seal. Then the 4 living creatures. Now, the word thunder in Hebrew translates to voices because when they were on when they heard the thunder, they would think God was talking. So Revelation 6:2, I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow. Who is the horse with the bow and the arrow? That's Sagittarius. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the 4 living creatures, the fixed signs, by the way, saying 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages and 6 pounds of barley, the bread and the beer, is Virgo. And do not damage the oil, the olives, and the wine, that's Libra. So it's 2 examples of Virgo and Libra. Those are connecting signs. I watched as he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like a sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. Well, the goat is Capricorn. Its opposing sign is Cancer, who is ruled by. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. There are 7 chakras. The root has 4 petals. The sacral has 6. The solar plexus has 10. The heart has 12, and the throat has 16, which equals 48. The third eye chakra is represented by 96 and only has 2 petals because it's 2 times as powerful as the lower chakras. 48 times 2 equals 96. The crown chakra is 1,000 times more powerful than the lower 6 chakras. When you add the lower 6, you get 96 plus 48 equals 144. Times that by 1,000, and you get your 144,000. So
let me add
Chief,
to that. Let me add
when you
on top of
activate
that.
all your chakras.
Can you hear me, Michael? All right. Let me add to that. In antiquity, if you look at all the ancient hieroglyphs for a pharaoh, which was God on earth, or any king to get the crown placed on him, it would have to be placed on him by a woman or 2 women. And the reason being is, like you said, these people were much more aware than we are as a collective. This is fact, what I'm about ready to tell you. And some of the students that have been with me for a while know this. The X chromosome, that means the feminine chromosome, the woman's primary chromosome, holds 1,000 times more data than the Y chromosome, meaning it is impossible that a man was put to sleep and a rib, aka ribosome, which is one of those strands. You take away one rib or ribosome from an X, you have a Y. So the rib was taken from the X, you have a Y. The Y chromosome carries 50 to 90 essential genes at best. That means essential light codes, the Y chromosome.
Chief, we can talk about this. We could literally talk about this until midnight. You can talk about the fact that the Y chromosome is disappearing, that it's barely there. You could talk about the fact that we're only now rediscovering the fact that women's bone marrow used to produce spermatozoa, and they used to self-reproduce.
Parthenogenesis.
Exactly, just like they try and show you this in Wonder Woman, right? The Isle of them. Women used to self-reproduce, and because they were just women, they were all women, that they would always give birth to women. It would just be women. Man reproducing with women is a current thing. In fact, the Egyptians knew this. The Egyptians revered women. They revered them. They loved them. You see all these statues of women side by side holding the man. And they knew this. And then you get to the Old Testament that the Jews wrote, and suddenly women are the downfall of humanity.
And they're not even there. They're like gone. And they're gone. And then even in the New Testament, it says a woman can't even speak in the church. Right. You ain't even allowed to talk in the church. They put that.
I think that's in Timothy, but I might be wrong.
But the point I'm trying to make is what you just said about the 1,000 times crown. That comes from the Great Mother. That's the X from on the macro. We got the micro, macro. You know, we're getting into the metaphysical. So in the micro, the itty bitty DNA light code, the X chromosome is 1,000 times. So what you just said in the metaphysical, which is related to a bigger thing, which would be a macro. You know, so when the crown gets placed, it times is that 144 energy churches. You know, you got 7 main churches, and then the rest of them are little churches on the corner, and you know, all throughout your spirit body, and you get that crown, which is the narrow path, which is the portal and back to your higher self, eternity.
Correct. Beautiful. And out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth and were given powers of scorpions. So we're going to go into the book of Matthew, and I'm going to read you Leviticus 11 and show you that locusts are food. But locusts were considered food in the Bible. So that is a good thing, right? Well, what is the power of the scorpion? The scorpion betrays. So where's the betrayal with the locusts? Well, too many of them, you get a plague, a pestilence. In fact, it's one of the plagues. So that is what they do. They're given the power to plague. Now, the locusts looked like horses prepared for battle. On their heads, they wore something. Well, the horse is Sagittarius. On their heads, they wore something like crowns of gold. Well, that's just the golden sun in Sagittarius. Their faces resembled human faces. Well, guess what? That's Aquarius and Virgo.
Well, isn't right above Sagittarius? If you look at the Zodiac with the 48 constellation, isn't Corona Borealis right above Sagittarius as well? On the if you look
I would have to double check that, but it's a good thing that you brought up the 48, because what I've done with this cipher, this keyword cipher, is I have used Ptolemy's list of at 150 AD of the 48. I don't use the 88 because it doesn't make sense, because it wasn't there at the time.
Exactly.
So their hair was like women's hair. That's Virgo. Their teeth were like lion's teeth. That's Leo. The scorpion is Scorpio. So Sagittarius, Sun in Sagittarius, and Scorpio, those are connecting signs. Virgo and Leo are connecting signs. This is Revelation 12. This is the dragon. We did this already, so I'm just going to skip it. Revelation 13:2. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. I didn't mention this constellation yet, but I am now. It's the constellation Camelopardalis. Camelos means camel. Pardalis means leopard, the camel leopard. In fact, the giraffe originally was called the camel leopard because they saw this lanky, long-necked thing
Kamala
that was
Harris.
covered in leopard spots, and they called it the camel leopard. Ursa Major is the bear. It's in Cancer. The lion is Leo. So the beast I saw resembled a leopard. That's Gemini. The bear is Cancer. The lion is Leo. This is 3 signs in a row. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb. That's Aries. But it spoke like a dragon. The dragon goes from Aries to Sagittarius. So this entire passage right here is just saying, hey, can you recognize Aries? Cargoes of cinnamon and spice, of incense. Myrrh and frankincense, by the way, are olive plants. I don't know if you guys know this, but olives are Libra. Wine is Libra. Olive oil is also Libra. Flour and wheat is Virgo. Those are connecting signs. Cattle is Taurus. Sheep is Aries. Those are connecting signs. Horse is Sagittarius. Human beings, Aquarius and Virgo.
I want to add to you, Micah. There's also in the 48 constellations, there's another serpent named Hydra that also
there is. That's on the other side of the zodiac.
Exactly.
That's on the left side. That's on the left side of the zodiac, and then the serpent bearer Ophiuchus is on the right, on the bottom.
Hydra starts at Cancer, and it goes from Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra. So that's also one. That's 1/3 of the zodiac. When they say 1/3 of the stars will be cast to the ground, they're telling you the red Kachina, blue Kachina. So on one event is what you're saying that about the I think you referenced the serpents, right?
Right. Well,
So
Serpens is the snake in Ophiuchus, and Serpens goes, I think, Scorpio Sagittarius.
So look, that is the red Kachina. That is when the sun gets really red, big and red, and it's the low, long waves, and that's what everybody thinks is Nibiru. That's the changeover event by water. We already just passed that. We're coming to the one called the abomination of desolation with the little blue sun that is called the blue Kachina, where the sun is, you're not looking for in what you just said, Ophiuchus, and around the entering into the winter solstice. The sign will come during the summer solstice when the sun doesn't start going back down as you showed. It will actually keep moving towards the middle because it moves in a spiral. It goes in a
It's
spiral
kind of
out.
like a figure eight.
Yeah, that's the Apep, the ancient Apep on the Egyptians, or we know it as the analemma today.
Mm-hmm.
It moves like that, but it's the along with that, it moves it from what we call the Tropic of Cancer. It will never go closer to the magnetic north in the Tropic of Cancer, and it'll never go closer to the quote South Pole, or flat earthers would say ice wall, than the Tropic of Capricorn. The problem with this is the cosmology from the age of Aries. The Piscean takeover, they decided not to update the maps with the equator is not where we're told it is right now. The Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn are not where we're told it is right now. And the abomination of desolation is when the sun, this is the Hopi prophecy, will dance in the plaza where it should not be, meaning it will go into the past the Tropic of Cancer into the magnetic North Pole. It will be above magnetic north, the only place where it can be seen by the whole world at one time. And it will take off its mask, meaning it will be black face. That's the black face symbology with a blue ring around it, and a blue beam comes out of plasma. And then from Mount Meru, or the mother, the seed of the mother, comes her son, aka the son of man. It comes out of the earth, and it hits, and it makes all the symbology you've ever seen, including the menorah, the squatter man, all of it. And that's a whole nother teaching. I just wanted to add that in.
I love it. I love it. But anyway, that is the end of Revelation. So Revelation's not so scary anymore. So let me read this to you guys again, because I'm going to read it to you one more time. My point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. So let's do a deep dive into the book of Matthew. I'm only going to do one of these gospels. Matthew 3:2, repent of your sins and turn to God, for the kingdom of heaven is near. Each gospel begins at one of the four major points of the zodiac. This is the summer, this is the fall, this is the winter, and this is the spring. Again, remember, it makes the cross, right? The cross that God's son carries to his death. The two solstices and the two equinoxes, when connected, form a cross. This is known as the cross of God's son that he carries to his death. The kingdom of heaven is Leo, whose ruling planet is the sun right up here. This is the only sign that the sun rules over. So the closest to Leo is here. So this is where this zodiac starts, June 21st. This right here, these lines that I'm showing you right here, that you see right here that I'm highlighting, these are known as cusps or handover dates. What it represents is the last 3 days of a sign and the first 3 days of the next sign, where the energies blend. Matthew 3:4, and incidentally, if you're at a cusp in the story, for example, Gemini and Cancer cusp, I could talk about twins. I could talk about camels for Camelot pardalis. Here's Cancer. I could talk about the crab, the scarab. I could talk about the donkey, Acellus borealis, the beehive cluster. I can go on. When you're at the cusp, you can mention either. When you're only in one sign, you can only mention that one sign. Matthew 3:4. John's clothes were woven from coarse camel hair, and he wore a leather belt around his waist. For food, he ate locusts and wild honey. If we take the most famous drawing of a man, Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, and superimpose it onto the zodiac, we can make sense of this. This right here is Cancer is the head. Here's the mouth, and here's the beehive cluster. It's in Cancer, so that's why he eats the honey. Now, Leviticus 11, what's clean and unclean to eat? All flying insects that walk on all fours are to be regarded as unclean by you. There are, however, some flying insects that walk on all fours that you may eat, those that have jointed legs for hopping on the ground. Of these, you may eat any kind of locust, there it is, katydid, cricket, or grasshopper. So when they try and tell you a pound of grasshoppers is 3 times as nutritious as a pound of beef, and they're trying to get you to eat bugs, the World Economic Forum, all that stuff, all those memes that you see, it's biblical. They're getting it from Leviticus 11 right here. That's what they're trying to do. So we started in Leo, then we went to Cancer. Now we're in Gemini, so that's 3 signs in a row. Gemini's a little lower down on the body, so here is where he's going to wear his camel hair coat, or the constellation Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. Now we're in Taurus. We have 4 signs in a row, and Taurus is a little lower, so his right here, which is where he'd wear the belt. Taurus represents the bull, and the female is the cow, which is where you get the leather from. Regarding the belt, Orion's belt sits right here between Taurus and Gemini. So next would be the baptism. So how are we going to go from the beginning of Leo, right here, to a water sign to signify the baptism? You find its opposing sign. You're touching Aquarius now, so you can baptize. Here we see how it makes a leap from one cusp to the other. The man with the water pitcher in Aquarius is personified as John the Baptist with the water. It's important to note, too, that John the Baptist and Jesus are always exactly 6 months apart. When you think about the fact that Jesus is born on December 25th, which is right here, it's going up a degree a day. John the Baptist is born on June 24th, so he's dropping a degree a day, which is why in John 3:30, John says, he must increase, but I must decrease. It's also why St. John's Day is exactly 6 months to the day of the birthday of Jesus. Just open a Catholic calendar. It's June 24th. So we're going back to the Cancer-Leo firmament right here of July 24th. Well, this one is simple. You're going to count 40 days because he's tempted for 40 days. So what's 40 days from July 24th? Well, that's September 2nd. That's right in the middle of Virgo. The lady with the wheat stalk. What's the very next passage? If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become loaves of bread. Here we see mention of the bread, which tells you that the sun is in Virgo. So remember, we started in Leo and we went to Cancer, Gemini, and Taurus. That's 4 signs in a row. Now we're going from Leo to Virgo to Libra. How are we going to Libra? Because the next passage, Matthew 5:17 and 22, I did not come to abolish the law, and if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. Both law and judgment are in Libra. So now we've made a pattern of 7 signs in a row to open the gospel. Matthew 7:15 and 16. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, right here, Aries. And can you pick grapes from the thorn bushes? Well, the grapes are in Libra. That's an opposing sign. Moving along, Matthew 13, later that same day, Jesus left the house and sat beside the lake. So beside the lake, you're right here, Aquarius, Pisces. Because if he was in the lake, he'd be in one of the two. But he's not in the lake. He sat beside it. So that's how you know he's sitting right here beside it. As it's across from Leo, Virgo, so it's touching Virgo, the lady with the wheat stalk. Is it ironic that the next parables are the wheat and the weeds, the mustard seed and the yeast? Moving right along, next is the fishing net parable. So just go back across, and now you're touching Pisces, so you could talk about the fishing net parable. Gemini is the sign of 2 men, technically twins. However, there's just a short mention of brothers in the next passage. He's just the carpenter's son, and we know Mary, his mother, and his brothers, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. This ends at the cusp of Gemini and Cancer, because if you follow it across, remember, you're in Gemini, so that you're touching Gemini, because you're talking about the brothers, the passage we just read. If you take its sign across right here, it's the day of death, December 21st. It's its opposing sign. So what's the very next story? It's the death of John the Baptist. As I've mentioned previously, death comes at the end of Sagittarius. So I'm going to show you an example of how scripture is written. Let's take this sentence, which sounds like it could be in the Bible, but isn't. If I say to you, the rulers were divided between war and love, it split the land in half. You could read that as a literal translation. Or the ruling planet of Aries is Mars, the god of war. The ruling planet of Libra is Venus, the goddess of love. There's your war and love. If you connect it, it literally splits the land in half.
Brother,
I'm telling you.
let me tell you something. I'm getting ready I might need maybe about 7 minutes, but I'm getting ready to show you. I don't know if you know this, but it's being put on my heart to share this. I'm gonna show you how far this goes back and makes the Bible look like it's new. This is the exact what you just showed about the Vitruvian man being clothed and everything is the exact same story as Tammuz and Ishtar going back to 5000 BC, okay, to even before Babylon, going into Mesopotamian literature. So look, Tammuz, well, in Mesopotamia is known as Dumuzi. Tammuz is also known as the fourth month, and he, you know what
in
they
Judaism,
call
Tammuz is the fourth month, correct?
right. But it also, when they changed it over, they changed it to the 10th month to so it could be either or. But that's relevant. So look, on the Gregorian calendar, Tammuz is between June and July, which is Cancer at the very top. Okay, that's at this when at 5000 BC, that's when the summer solstice was. So Tammuz was the son of God, was the son of God, was the son, but it was the son of the goddess. See, this was before the full hijacking had take place, where everything was three dudes, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, three guys sitting around, you know, just making stuff together. That, you know, that never sat right with me, even as a child. But so Tammuz was known as Lord of the Shepherds, just that. I mean, I don't have to explain that. Originally was the Lord of vegetation and agriculture, but became the sun god, son and husband of Ishtar, which Ishtar or Inanna is associated with Venus. So Venus, that's Libra and Taurus, which is the equinox. So Ishtar and Inanna is the equinox. Tammuz is the solstices. So listen to the story. Tammuz is known as the
Just
Redeemer.
saying agriculture. Well, the agriculture season, that's Taurus. That's when you plant. And then the harvest, that's Virgo and Libra right there. Libra and Taurus are both ruled by Venus.
Look
So
at
there's
that.
the law.
So Tammuz was known as the Redeemer and the Resurrection, right? So the solstice was around they said Tammuz was born on like this December 24th at midnight or whatever, just like all the other ones. But the Tammuz festival was held right before the summer solstice, and they say he died in midsummer in the month of Tammuz. Tammuz died. So then Ishtar, the daughter of Sin, which is the daughter of the moon, which is your own reflection. So it's the goddess that is reflecting off her higher self that
Right.
is
And
here.
Sumerian, Sin means moon god.
And moon is the ruling thing, energy of Cancer, where he died at. So she's the son of where her son died at in the solstice. All right after the solstice, the summer solstice. And the story is that Ishtar goes downward as the circle goes down from Cancer, goes downward um, to the gates of death, the place of darkness that's going to where it keeps getting darker and darker and darker. Okay. And it says she got to go through the 7 gates. Now, if we look from Cancer, where it starts at, and go all the way through all them signs of Leo and stuff, well, guess what? Starting in Cancer, the first gate is the moon gate. And it says the first gate, her great crown was removed. Well, what's the crown? We talked about that earlier. The great mother puts the crown on you associated with the moon. So the first gate going down into the place of darkness was the leaving Cancer ruled by the moon. They took off her great crown. The second gate was going through Leo or the sun. They took off her earrings. What's in between your ears? Your pineal gland. That was the sun. She had to take off her earrings. The third gate was Virgo, ruled by Mercury. She had to take off her necklace. Necklace is communication, or your throat chakra, the messenger when you speak. Inanna or Ishtar had to take off her necklace in the third gate when she went through Virgo. The fourth gate, she had to take off her ornaments from her breast. Well, where's the fourth gate? The breast is the bosom or the heart. And that is Libra or Venus, the planet of love, the vibration of love. She had to take off the ornaments of her bosom or breast or heart. The fifth gate, she going through Scorpio or Mars, she had to take off her girdle from her waist. The girdle is for war and it holds things, holds weapons and things like that. She had to remove her girdle, or protects a woman from being violated. She had to take off her girdle at the fifth gate going through Scorpio or Mars. The sixth gate was Sagittarius. She had to remove the bracelet from her hands and feet. That's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the energy of morality through works and writing and religion, okay, and expansion. So you cannot expand anything if you're not moving it by feet or writing it through your hands and sending it off on through books and letters and things. So her bracelets was removed. And the seventh gate was Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, where it says she had to remove the covering cloak of her body. Not meaning she had to remove her clothes. She had to come out of her body, her physical body, and become spirit. She literally had to become spirit. Okay. And then it says that the rest of the gods got together and said, because she was the god of the equinox, spring, when vegetation and everything comes back. They say she was setting the order. This is the story, the mythology. She was setting the natural order out. So the gods said, we got to get her out of there. So what they did was they threw water on basically all the crops. Everyone was experiencing famine while this was happening, right? So the gods realized she is disorganized in nature. They demand her release from the underworld. The water of life is poured on her. What's that? That's Aquarius. The very next after Capricorn. The water gets poured. The water of life gets poured on her. And then it says she realizes that she's alive again and retraces her way through the 7 gates. Now, if you look at the way back up, it's the exact opposite. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. The last Capricorn ruled by Saturn. The Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. The first thing she gets is her physical body back from Saturn. She gets her, her body, her cloak. Then she goes, through Pisces. That's Jupiter. Gets her bracelets on her hands and her feet. Then she goes through Aries. That's Mars. She gets her girdle back. To Taurus. That's Venus. She gets her ornaments on her breast back, her heart. And then Gemini, which is Mercury. She gets her necklace back. And then Cancer, she returns to the moon. And then ultimately back to her sun. And it happens all over again. This story has been going on for what I just told you is about 8,000 years old. 8,000 years old. But yet we got people out here that's willing to do anything for this book. And I just, I'm not to drag this out, but I just shared the other day with someone. There was a child that has a condition and they had a spell, or I don't know, well, not a spell. They showed their, the their condition, and someone came over there and grabbed the child up and was like holding them real tight and was like, "You're covered by the blood of Jesus. I cover you with the blood of Jesus." And people was like, "Give my child. What are you doing?" And this lady was like, "I cover you with the blood of Jesus." And she was like winging the child around. 10 minutes later, the same woman had on her phone, it was like a ringtone. It was like, Big Pimpin' spending cheese, and Timothy, like, what in the world? And it had all the curse words and everything. But they like, and then if you try to show people this, they just, I don't know, man. It's I don't like using the word chosen ones, but I have what's been unveiled to I, and these are souls that are gonna be back, according to what's been unveiled to I don't mean they're gonna go burn in hell, but they're gonna be back, and until they get it. And everyone that's here right now, I'm not saying like we're superior to any. We're all family, and we are all. You guys could teach Micah and I many things. I know for sure, and that's why I'm working on a community for us. But I just wanted to add that to that, because I saw that, and it's like everything you're teaching. When we spoke for about 3 minutes, I said, "Hey, brother, I'm running about 10 minutes behind." All of this stuff that was coming to me, and I was just like jotting it down, is all relevant to what you're teaching, and I didn't know what you were going to teach. You know what I mean? So exactly what you pulled up with the Vitruvian man talking about John the Baptist, that goes all the way back to Ishtar, which is celebrated by Biblicans as Easter, the resurrection of Jesus. Zeus also being Jupiter, the ruling energy of the age of Pisces. It's a lot, man. Sometimes it's frustrating, but I've gotten to the point where they're either going to accept it, the message, which is the truth, or they're not. Because when you know it's the truth, you don't have to fight to try to like get someone to get it. You know what I mean? If someone's trying too hard to get you to buy into something, then it may not be the truth. You know what I mean? Because the truth pretty much resonates on its own. But I just wanted to share that.
That was great, brother. I really appreciate that. So Matthew 14, 17, and 32. We only have 5 loaves of bread, that's Virgo, and 2 fish. Well, the 2 fish are Pisces, and those are opposing signs. This is the cross of God's Son. We were just in Virgo. Now next is Libra, which is law, wine, and oil. Remember, what story do we get? The story of the temple tax, that's law. The unforgiving debtor, that's law. Divorce and marriage, that's law. And the parable of the vineyard worker, that's wine. And Virgo and Libra are connecting signs, by the way. Then Scorpio is the betrayer. This is where Judas betrays Jesus with the kiss. So now it's 3 signs in a row. And then here, 4 signs in a row. It's Sagittarius, right here, the death of Jesus. Dane Rudyard said, astrology is a language. If you understand this language, the sky speaks to you.
And think about it, Micah. You just said the death of Jesus as at the very end of Sagittarius. Well, who's the ruler of Sagittarius? Jupiter. So what did the Romans call Jupiter, or the Greeks call Jupiter? Zeus. Jesus, the death of Zeus. That's the death of Zeus. When at the end of Sagittarius, that's the death of Zeus's energy. And before that, it was Enlil in Mesopotamian times. So it's all astrotheology, as above, so it is down here. So everything we're watching, Donald Trump and this and that, they're literally doing their chores to make the script happen.
Exactly.
That's literally what they're doing.
So are you starting to see the great implication of this so far? This means that at the very, very, very least, the Bible is not meant to be taken literally. So let me read this to you again, because I read this to you guys at the beginning. What is the point of this? We take for granted we have calendars, clocks, watches, weathermen. The ancients didn't have any of that. They had sundials. In the Bible, they worked on dream interpretations for harvest. They had to know things. They needed to know Taurus was when you put the plow on the bull, and plant as above, so below. The Bible is an encoded farmer's almanac. It was the knowledge of staying alive, the most important thing. They would look at the stars and see all this movement and make stories up about them and pass them down to their children, then them to their children. Eventually, they learned how to write and wrote them down, and they evolved from Sumerian to Babylonian to Egyptian to Judaism, the Old Testament, then to the Christians in the New Testament. My point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we are now dumb enough to take them literally. So a couple of things I want to just show you. This is important for you guys to understand that the U.S. was not founded as a Christian nation, no matter what you see. Thomas Jefferson said Christianity is the most perverted system that ever shone on man. Benjamin Franklin said, I have found Christian dogma unintelligible. John Adams, this would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it. George Washington said, the Constitution is the guide which I will never abandon. John Adams said, and the day will come when the mystical generation of Jesus, by the Supreme Being as his father in the womb of a virgin, will be classed with the fable of the generation of Minerva in the brain of Jupiter. That's Thomas Jefferson in a letter to John Adams. What influence, in fact, have Christian ecclesiastical establishments had on civil society? In many instances, they have been upholded the thrones of political tyranny. In no instance had they been sent as the guardians of the liberties of people. It's James Madison. James Madison also said, the purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe in blood for centuries. And then finally, in Thomas Paine, this is 250 years ago. The Christian religion is a parody on the worship of the sun, in which they put a man called Christ in the place of the sun and pay him the adoration originally paid to the sun. So let me show you how they use astrotheology against us. Why do they always crash the stock market in Libra, Chief? The Panic of 1907, October 1907, Teddy Roosevelt, Republican. The Wall Street crash of 1929, October 24th, 1929. That's a handover date to Scorpio, but it still has Libra energy. It's right there. Herbert Hoover, Republican. Black Monday, October 19th, 1987, Ronald Reagan, Republican. Friday the 14th mini crash, October 13th, 1989, George H.W. Bush, Republican. Stock market downturn of 2002, October 9th, 2002, George W. Bush, Republican. 10% in most of the world's indices drop, October 24th. That's a handover date. 2008 crash, George W. Bush, Republican. So the first term that we saw with Trump, with the disease that flooded whatever, that's how they tried to get rid of him now. It's very likely that they're going to crash the stock market. I mean, you're already seeing it start to slip a little bit. That they're going to
The first thing I thought of was when you started naming these dates was the sign that's directly across from there, which is Taurus with a bull.
No,
market.
Aries.
Oh, is it Aries?
Yeah.
Okay, but you know how Libra and Taurus both have they share Venus.
Yes.
And they have the horns that look, the horns look like scales, and then a bull market is the opposite of the crash.
Well, the reason it's a bull market is because the bull, when it attacks someone, it gores up. So that's when the bull market's going up. The bear market is because when a bear attacks, it goes like this. It palms down and slaps you. So that's when the market's going down.
I wonder if any of the bear constellations are in October.
The bear constellations are in Cancer, and that's when the sun starts to go down a little bit. But the Taurus, that's when the sun's still going up.
Okay.
And even further than that, the biggest gains in the stock market that have ever been recorded are in Aries, which is Libra's opposing sign.
Now, so that's originally what I was getting at. Mm-hmm. But I just always, because of the what we call planets today, that's what I always think of, like a portal going through to the other sign.
So the Roman Catholic Catechism 2116. This is why, by the way, You're never going to get a religious person to be able to talk to me in chief about this. All forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Consulting horoscopes, astrology, palm reading, interpretations of omens and lots, the phenomena of clairvoyance, and recourse to mediums all conceal a desire for power over time, history, and in the last analysis, other human beings, as well as a wish to conciliate hidden powers. They contradict the honor, respect, and loving fear that we owe to God alone. Now check this out. You remember this movie, Face Off? Can you hear me?
Excuse me. I had to open the door. I don't know if you could see me or not. Did you ask me a question, brother?
Yeah, I said, do you remember this movie, Face Off?
Yes.
Okay. Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. Nicolas Cage and his brother in the movies, names Castor and Pollux Troy. That's Gemini. That's literally the names. Remember, I told you remember the names later. Well, it's John Travolta's. That's Sean Archer. That's the guy with the bow and the arrow. Those are opposing signs. So there are tons of characters in Harry Potter that are named after stars or constellations. You have Draco Malfoy, the dragon, Pollux Black, Sirius Black, Andromeda Black, Regulus Black, Arcturus Black, Cassiopeia Black, Orion Black, Cygnus Black. In fact, in Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul comes back to Al Ghul, which is the demon star, which is fixed in Taurus. This video right here for the Cranberries. 1990s song video for the Cranberries, Zombie. Here, Dolores O'Riordan is painted gold like the sun, and her head dressing shows the rays of the gold. But is that it? Well, what's the next scene? It's the sun on the cross with Sagittarius down here, the little bow and arrows. They show you this. But it's not just the Bible. If you don't know by now that the Bible is not original, you still might have doubts. Here is 6,000 years of ancient holy texts going from 5 Sumerian tablets, the Babylonian Enuma Elish, the Code of Hammurabi, which is where the Jews get their punishments and codes of ethics from, to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, to the Gnostic texts, all of them, to the Quran, to the Book of Mormon. Now, I'm still working on the Apocrypha, the Ethiopian Bible, and the Cobran Bible, but they're all the same. So I'm going to start with the obvious one, the Epic of Gilgamesh. May the bear mourn you, the hyena, the panther, the leopard, deer, jackal, lion, wild bull, gazelle. May the rivers Ulaya and Euphrates mourn you, whose sacred waters we offered to the gods. May the young men of the great world Uruk mourn you, who cheered when we slaughtered the bull of heaven. Hello, Taurus. May the farmer mourn you, who praised you to the skies in his harvest song. May the shepherd mourn you, who brought you milk. May the brewer mourn you, who made you fine beer. May Ishtar's priestess mourn you, who massaged you with sweet-smelling oil. May the wedding guests mourn you like their own brother. The bear is Ursa Major, the great bear. That's Gemini and Cancer. The leopard is Camelopardalis. Camelopardalis refers to a camel or a leopard. The giraffe used to be called the camel leopard. It is in Gemini. Mriga, or the deer, is located in Orion between Taurus and Gemini. The lion is Leo. The wild bull is Taurus. The rivers are Pisces. The water sign that signifies the water. The bull of heaven is Taurus, obviously. The shepherd is Aries, as previously mentioned. The milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, whose center is in Sagittarius. The brewer and the fine beer is from barley, which is harvested in Virgo. Ishtar's priestess is Virgo, the woman. The sweet-smelling oil is the oil from Libra. The mourning their own brother is Gemini, the brothers. The only 2 signs that are missing out of this 6,000-year-old tablet are Scorpio, so the eagle, the phoenix, the dove, the scorpion, and Capricorn. Those are the only 2 that are missing. So Astrotheology and Enki in the world order. Father Enki engendered by the bull.
Think about them 2 missing, and then look at how the names are off by 2 months. September is the 9th month, but Sep means 7. October is the 10th month, but it means 8.
That's a great point.
December is the 10th month. Deca is 10th, but it's the 12th. It's got it at the 12th. So and it's missing 2 signs right there. That
Yeah,
right
and you
there.
know what? That would make sense because in sidereal astrology, Scorpio is only 6 days long.
Look at that.
So that must have been added. Wow. Okay. See how things are coming together, Chief?
That's what it's about. That's why this was ordained for us to be together, for us to do this. Like I said earlier, it's not about likes, it's not about Mooney, it's not about none of that. It's about y'all and us together, because our journey has "our" in both of those words. So with our journey, your journey is still our journey. It's your journey has "our" in it twice. So it's about us, all of us.
Exactly. So what I've done now is I'm going to give you one example from each of these tablets or stories. Just one example. Or maybe there's going to be a few that I have like 2 or 3, but it's mostly just one. Like when I hit the Quran, there's like 6 or 7 slides. But Father Enki, engendered by a bull, begotten by a wild bull, the great dragon who stands in Eridug, a grove of vines extending over the land, where stags are born, where wild goats are born in meadows. You close up the days and make the months enter their houses. The bull is Taurus, the dragon and its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius. The stag is the deer, which is Mariga, which is an Orion, which sits between Taurus and Gemini. And the goats are Capricorn. So we have Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Sagittarius. This one passage has 7 signs in a row. Enki and Narasaja. In Dilmun, the raven was not yet cawing, the partridge not cackling, the lion did not slay, the wolf was not carrying off lambs, the dog had not been taught to make kids curl up. The raven is the constellation Corvus, which means raven and borders on Virgo. The lion is Leo. These 2 are connecting signs. The wolf is the constellation Lupus, which borders Libra. 3 signs in a row. The lamb is Aries, which is the wolf's opposing sign. The dog is Canis Major, which is 11 stars in Cancer. Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and Libra are 4 signs in a row. These are Sumerian tablets, guys. Inanna's descent to the netherworld. She took the 7 divine powers. She had placed twin egg-shaped beads on her breast. After 3 days and 3 nights had passed, and they other the life-giving water. They will offer you a river full of water. They will offer you a field with its grain. They eat no fish. The 7 of them poured the milk. They would not let shepherds play the pipe. He turned his feet into snakes' feet in the beer house and the tavern. The 7 divine powers are the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. That's in Taurus. The twin
You know
is
what?
Gemini.
You're a good teacher when the students are probably already starting to get ahead of you.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole point is of being a teacher. It's not to be somebody that's idolized or put on a pedestal. It's when the students at this point should be like thinking what you're already about to say. And
this is one presentation I've done, and people, it's a simple keyword cipher made up of where things are in the 48 constellations of Ptolemy at 150 AD, because that places the timeline around there, instead of now at the 88. But yeah, it's unbelievable.
I always say the definition, excuse me, I don't like using that word neither. That's definition. But the meaning of a true wise man is not someone who can make something intricate and is so elegant and with these huge words and everything, and just make it so complex and everything. The meaning, the true meaning of a wise man is someone who can make something like that very simple.
Well, Einstein said if you can't explain something to a child, you don't understand it fully.
And there it is. And just like it says in the Bible, to enter the kingdom of, well, I don't like using the word kingdom, but to enter the wholeness of heaven, you have to come as a child. And I've always told people, every time I try to have dialogue with a preacher or a bishop or someone, they always get it gets so complicated. And I said, could you explain this to a 9-year-old child about covenants and this and that? And Abraham came and then he had to do this and that and this and that, and then another covenant, and then Yahweh and da 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 and El Elyon, and then Thou shalt not kill, but kill everything moving in 60 cities, including
You know
the
what this
baby.
reminds me of, Chief? What the physicists are looking for right now, the quantum physicists. They say that the equation that explains everything is not going to be 20 pages long. It's not going to be 200 pages long. It's going to be a short sentence.
Wow. It's a frequency. But
they're
not gonna find it though.
No, of course not, because they're using outdated methods and
exactly.
they don't really understand. That's the problem is we're talking the left brain, right brain, right? They have to work together. You have to be educated in one and you have to be able to explain and feel and emote the other. Whereas all these academics are all left brain.
This is what I agree 1,000%. This is what I always say. They cracked the light code a long moment ago.
So
the thing that they haven't cracked is the stillness or the darkness. That's what they're looking for. That's what CERN is all about. It's about going to the darkness, because that's where the light comes from and returns to. That's the womb. That's the feminine energy. That's why a woman is known as the negative, where the pole goes into. That's why everything that is important in your body is surrounded by darkness. It's all on your pineal gland, your organs.
This is why Nikola Tesla told Walter Russell after he wrote the Law of One to hide it in a vault for 1,000 years. Humanity wasn't ready for it.
And that's kind of like what we hit on earlier about the beginning of Masonry, my sons. You know what I mean? That's what
I told you at the very beginning. I said I was looking for the origins of chem. I want those mystery schools. The shipbuilders that put spiritual.
Well, that's the original. That's the original. If you go to etymology, that's the original etymology for carpenter. It was wagon. And wagon meant two wheels, like Ezekiel's wheels, and then it went to shipbuilding. So, but really, it was not just a ship; it was any vessel that could move that had some kind of wheel or something on it. But then there was people that even thought ships on the water were supernatural. There was people that was afar off. In Turtle Island, we called it a far Inca or Africa, and over here it was called a more Inca at one point, Central America and everything. But I forgot where I was going with that. But they're not gonna find it. The balance. It's all about balance. Everyone is looking to the intellect and the the tree of knowledge of good and evil or whatever, everything, instead of tapping into internally what you are and who you are and why you are, and it'll come to you. Like you said about your original intent about joining the Masons, but now that you made the decision that was placed upon your soul, the mind of your heart, everything that you seek and you knock, it's gonna be unveiled to you anyway. That's why what you opened with and said that they took that teaching down, because you're already ahead of people that are supposed to be, that are forking out money and this and that, and millionaires and this and taking part in all this, the lower level stuff, the acting and things like that, the choreograph, and you're already beyond that. Like I told a story about 3 men followed me to the coffee shop a few months back, and they were 33-degree Freemasons, and they asked me to do the same thing that you said, to come to their lodge and to teach I don't know how valid it was. They told me that they would give me an honorary title of worshipful master if I would come. They said they've been watching my work for months, and they want me to come teach. They said it will be no one but Shriners and above, which to my knowledge is 32nd degree and higher would
I
be
was a
present.
32.
They said it'll be 32 degrees and up would only be present, and they wanted me to teach them the sun cycle through and through, and I respectfully denied it. You know what I mean? And and for those that are here and are in alignment with the greatest of spirit, you're getting it freely. You know what I mean? So it's an earlier I typed this to Brother Micah. It's an all full thing. See, now don't let your left brain hear that and knock it down. See how they get us? We say all some. It's just a little bit of all, but nah, this all full. This presentation is all full. You know, someone will hear that and say, "You mean this presentation is not all full?" Oh yeah, it is. This presentation is full of all. So see that's another way they got us with the words. But go ahead and go on, brother.
Well, that's why it's called spelling, isn't it, Chief?
Exactly.
That's what words do.
And that's what cursive come from. They believed if you connected the words with no space in between, it would strengthen the spell. So it would strengthen the curse because it was harder to be unbroken. So that's where cursive came from, to keep it no space between the letters or the spelling.
Well, that's what abracadabra is, isn't it? I will speak into existence.
And a lot of people that claim they're Hebrew do not seem to get it. I was teaching that for over a year about them saying baraka. They think baraka means blessing or barak, and it does not. It means to bow down, to bend your knee, to bend your will. You be less so I can be more. That's what
So
baraka.
just for everybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, he's talking about the word Baruch. Baruch in Hebrew is the first word in every single prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. It always starts with Baruch, and that means to bow, to bend.
Finally, you're the first brother that I've ever said that to, and you followed it up with some knowledge that supported it. That's the first time that's ever happened. That's just confirmation.
This is a very special night right now. What's going on?
Oh, for sure. And it's going to remain. This video is going to remain up, and I'm confident it'll probably be one of, if not the most viewed and most shared and liked videos on the Chief Iron Bush platform thus far. And everyone asked, what is this? And I had to meditate on that for a while, and it was just given to me. This is a school. You're at school right now. This is a school. This is not a church. This is not a temple. You're the temple. You're the church. Now, if we get together physically and we can do some things, and we can still do things right now through the ether, but let's be real. If we get together on a physically together and and what I'm trying to do, and not even trying, what I am doing, off grid and in a community, there's nothing that can stop anything that we want to do. That's
the other thing that I feel about leaving the Masons too. It's kind of like I felt this was beyond a lot of them, because the reaction I got when I actually lectured this at the lodge, because I did it twice. I lectured it at the lodge, and then I did it for the Grand Lodge on their virtual platform. When I lectured it at the lodge, I was met with a lot of anger and resistance. I was like, maybe I just don't need to be part of a group. Maybe groups just get infiltrated and perverted over time. Maybe I could just soar on my own. And that's what I'm doing.
And you, brother, you're doing it well. You're doing it well. And great spirit willing, I don't think this will be the last time that we come together, because
no, I've got actually I could do another presentation. It won't be as long as this, to be honest, but that'll give us more time to just go back and forth.
That's why I've been, to be real with you, I've been, because I'm a talker, man, and
I know.
I've been kind of holding myself back a little bit just out of respect. You know what I mean?
Me too. I'm specifically not dropping gems on top of your gems because I want to actually get through this presentation.
Right.
But we could do this till 2 a.m.
Well, you know what? We'll go a little bit. You can finish this, and then you know what we can do. We can just schedule a part 2 because I can already see the positive reaction. Reaction from it. So we can definitely schedule a part 2 and come, like you said. That way, we can vibe off each other and go back and forth. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. All right, so let me continue. This is Inanna's descent to the netherworld. So the 7 divine powers were the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. That's in Taurus. The twin is in Gemini. Those are connecting signs. The life-giving water is Aquarius. The river full of water is Pisces. Remember, I told you, depending on what they say, they're going to be 1 water or 2 water. But those 2 waters are connecting signs. The field and the grains are Virgo. Pisces and Virgo are opposing signs. The fish is Pisces as well. The milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, whose center is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius and Gemini are opposing signs. The shepherd is Aries. So far, we have Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. 5 signs in a row. The snake is Ophiuchus, which sits in sidereal between Scorpio and Sagittarius. The beer house is in Virgo. This just reminded me of another piece of scripture. Check this out. The scripture says that the serpent will bite the heel of the horse and the rider will fall off. Well, Ophiuchus sits between Scorpio and Sagittarius, and the snake faces this way, which is literally facing Sagittarius. So the snake's head is going to bite the horse, and then the rider is going to fall off. It's in everything. So there's 7 signs in this table, and there's 5 signs in a row.
It's even with the way they because let's be real. There is what we call magic, magic ending with a C and magic.
Yeah. I was going to say differentiate that from Crowley.
Yeah. Two different things. With the magic ending with a K is different than magic ending with a C. 2 different things. But like I said earlier, magic, even with a K, is just high science. It's all it is, really. And science is seance. It's the same word. It's just getting information that's higher than the masses at that particular moment. So, that's what it is. But what was I saying? Oh, even how they did the whole CV-19. The whole thing was based in the stars above as well. Like I talked earlier about the serpent, the Hydra, in Sagittarius.
Well, it was announced in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the death,
exactly,
remember?
In 2019. And then it said in the scripture, it says that the white horse, the rider of the white horse, has a bow, already got a bow, but will be given a crown. Now, if you look at the 48 constellations, the way that the ecliptic goes with the sun's journey, it goes from the serpent, and there's a crown right above this serpent, and above, and it's called Corona Borealis, and that's what they called that whole thing. And that was during the exact moment that the sun was going through that same area, when the serpent has the crown right above, and the serpent's coming for it and giving a crown. And Sagittarius got a bow, right? If you go into the etymology of the words, it says crown is corona, and it says, and bow is the word toxin. So it already had the toxin, which means they already had the toxin. But they were waiting on the astronomical alignment for the crown to be given to the horse in that particular moment. This is them trying to manifest what we call magic, the chores of the script. These are they're doing the chores You know what I mean? To manifest this script, which is basically the sun cycle, where they've added detail. People ask me all the time, but Chief, how is all these prophecies fulfilled? Do you not know that these prophecies already all been fulfilled like 100 times? All of them, all of the ones in Isaiah, all the slavery prophecies. It's people out here right now talking about, well, we just coming out of the 400 years of slavery because we're the chosen people. Man, how many 400 years slavery do you got? For thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's insane. So people think that, oh my gosh, like how are these prophecies being fulfilled? Because you just fulfilled it. You just manifested in your mind and proclaimed it that it's being fulfilled. The Antichrist is here. Last year it was preachers that have huge followings, and not even like, I ain't talking TD Jakes and Osteens. I'm talking like kind of like underground preachers that have like 150K or something, and they were, this is the mark of the beast, da 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 da. Now, is it transhumanism? Yes, but as far as getting, are they at the point where they've got the soul stuck here? No, they're not. And now, are they trying to do it? Yeah, I believe that they are trying to do that.
This is why I'm trying to expose it with what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Enki's journey to Nibiru. And incidentally, it's not Nibiru. They're not talking about the Anunnaki planet. Incidentally, Nibiru, I don't think it's actually a planet. Nibiru in Sumerian means crossing or to cross over. I think they're talking about the next dimension. I don't think they're actually talking about place.
And in Kemet, or in Tamaran, before it was even called Kemet, Neb-Haru meant eye of horse. So Neb-Haru is the cross, just like Jesus was the middle cross, the cross and the two thieves on the skull, the hill of Golgotha, where the thief on the left didn't come to paradise because he was thinking with intellect, you just like us, you need to die like us, you ain't nobody. And the guy on the right, the feminine, the feminine energy on the right said, man, look, I don't even know you, but man, look, wherever you going, take me with you. This day you shall join me in paradise because you just manifested it yourself, and we're in agreement.
It's
so
the
boom.
Story of Odin and the two ravens. It's every story. The thief on the left, who was just regretful of his past decisions as being a thief. He was just living in the past. On the right, he was anxious about his salvation in the future. It's the past and the future. Jesus is in the middle, in the now.
And that's the crossing, right? That's the middle cross. That's Neb-Haru, or the eye of Haru, or that's why in Rome, in Greek, the word Christ is Chiro, or hero, or Heru. Horus. The Christ and Haru are the same thing. And people oh no, that was the Antichrist. Then you ask them to explain, well, the devil knew that the Christ was coming, so he tried to. It just gets into some like crazy mess when they try to explain it, instead of just coming to the realization that this is meant to inspire you and guide you. Why are you so offended that somebody didn't get murdered and hung on a tree and sacrificed and this and that and lived a perfect life and all this and that, and you repeat after me, now you're saved? You're so offended by it. It just doesn't make sense. Did it happen? Maybe. Yes, maybe. Maybe it did really happen. But I will tell you this, not once in the Bible did Christ say he was sacrificing himself for any sins of the world. Not once in the Bible did he call himself a king. Not once in the Bible. Only thing he ever said was he was paying the ransom for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He was talking about the people that was under blood magic, residual blood magic, by the being who they call Yahweh at that time, which is no different than Enlil and Zeus and energies basically that are manifest.
Israel, you're talking about Isis, Ra, and El, right?
Yes. Yes. The moon, the sun, and the planets head, El being the most high, Saturn, El Elyon. That was the Canaanite word for the most high, El Elyon.
El was Saturn.
Yeah.
El was Saturn. Ohim, Elohim. Ohim in Hebrew is just putting an S at the end of a word. It's just making it plural. So it's Saturns. It's the planets. Elohim.
Yep. And the Greek word for heaven is Uranus. So, and the story in the Greeks is that Kronos usurped his father Uranus, and guess who made them all? Gaia, Mother Earth that you sitting on right now. That's the oldest, most ancient story as far as you can go back, that the origin is right here where you at. And it even says in the Bible that you're supposed to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. But at the very end, they tell you a cube is coming down from heaven adorned like a bride for her husband. But yet we on Mother Earth though. So that's two energy. What they're doing is doing the same thing how they did the double masculine hijack. With this next new heaven, new earth, they're trying to do a double feminine hijack.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new Heru Salem. Because remember, everybody's so hooked on there was no J. Well, that means Jerusalem was Heru Salem.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So Enki's journey to Nibiru. Its eaves roar like a bull. Your lock has no rival. Your bolt is a fearsome lion. Your roof beams are the bull of heaven. Your vault is a bull raising its horns. Your door is a lion who seizes a man. Your staircase is a lion coming down on a man. Rising sea without a rival. Mighty awe-inspiring river which terrifies the land. A lion in the midst of the Abzu. The Suhar carp play among the honey herbs. Enki had oxen slaughtered and had sheep offered lavishly. Enki reached for the beer and had emmer wheat beer pressed out. The bull is Taurus, the lion is Leo, the man is Aquarius. Aquarius and Leo are opposing signs. The carp is Pisces, and the honey is the beehive cluster in Cancer. Aquarius and Pisces are connecting signs. The sheep is Aries. Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus are 4 signs in a row. The beer wheat is Virgo. Virgo and Pisces are opposing signs. Leo and Virgo are connecting signs. Cancer and Leo are connecting signs. Cancer, Leo, and Virgo are 3 signs in a row. It's celestial poetry.
And according to my studies, Enki also represents Neptune. And Enki is Anu's eldest son. So Anu is Uranus, according to all, their astrotheology. But the thing was, at certain ages, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto weren't visible to the naked eye. So this information, this knowledge had to come from an age prior where they were visible.
This was also an age, by the way, you're right. Those 3 planets were not known, but it was also an age where when they're talking about the 7 planets, you're talking about the 5 minus the 3, and you're also talking about the sun and the moon we both considered planets.
Exactly. And that's the original astrology for anybody that wants to know. That's the 7 seals, 7 chakras, 7 churches. That's the original 7 energies. And the sun was looked at as an amalgamation of all of them. It was like that's why they call sun the portal, because the ancestors looked at it like that's where all the energies of all the other suns meet and come into our realm. Now, how true that is, I would have to meditate on that. I don't think it works like that. I think they just beam down lights on different spectrums that aren't in the visible spectrum. We only see 0.003% of light.
Right. So well, that's why they got rid of Dyson and Dye, by the way.
I was meaning to ask you about that.
To be honest with you, so people don't know Dyson and Dye. It's a coding that. All right, I'll give you an example. Like in Vietnam, so people don't know this, but infrared goggles used to be red, not green. And when they were red, and people would wear them in Vietnam, they would report, and there were many documented cases of this. They would report seeing shadows and spirits floating around and flying around. It breaks the veil. It lets you see outside. Remember, you have infrared, your lowest red chakra, and you have ultraviolet, the top. Violet is the crown chakra. This allows you to see above that, the Dyson and die. But they got rid of it because of that particular reason. Although I feel like they still use it in sometimes. But yeah,
there were people that were using it and putting it in between, like if you have like a patio that has like a sliding glass door,
exactly.
they would put it on one door and then put it on the other door, and then in between those two doors, you could literally see like spirits and things coming and going. You know, like on your patio.
Incidentally, in this particular tablet that I just read to you, the missing ones are Gemini, the twin, Sagittarius, the horseman, and Capricorn, the goat. But look at the missing ones. Gemini and Sagittarius are opposing signs. Sagittarius and Capricorn are connecting signs. There's even patterns in the missing signs. So there's countless other Sumerian texts. I only gave you 5 examples to show the pattern. So the Enuma Elish, which is Babylonian. Then Tiamat enlisted a horned snake, a Mushusu dragon, a mad dog, and scorpion man, half man, half fish, half man, half bull. The horned snake is Ophiuchus, the dragon, Draco. The mad dog is the dog star Sirius. This dog star Sirius is in Cancer, which is the height, which is why Sirius is the top star. Incidentally, the reason New Year's Eve is January 1st and not in Aries in our modern screwed up world has to do with the fact that at midnight on December 21st, if you go outside and you look as high as you can, just pull your head all the way back, that top star is Sirius. It's its height. That's the night that it's at its height, or dog star, or binary star. If you follow it straight down, you get Earth, and if you follow it straight down, you get the sun. And we show this by dropping a ball in Times Square to represent that.
Well, yeah, and they used to call Sirius the son of the sun, and that's where the word Ben stone comes from. They believe that that's the Ben stone came from Sirius. But I have my own unrelations about that. That Sirius A is the reflection of us on a different light spectrum, like you were just going through the different, ultraviolet and down to the infrared, and then the moon is on the X-ray spectrum. So the moon is the X-ray reflection, which is the biggest reflection we have, and then the rest of the revolving, black night sky, that's the same reflection. It's just the moon is introverted reflection. The rest of the sky is the same thing. So the craters on the moon are the same exact map as the constellations in the night sky. A lot of people don't know that, but we're coming to know it. We're moving along pretty quickly, and it's a beautiful thing.
So the scorpion man is Scorpio and Aquarius mix. The half man, half fish is the Aquarius Pisces border, which blends the fish and the man sign, which is where we get merman from. The idea of a merman is Aquarius and Pisces. Those are connecting signs. The idea of a mermaid is Pisces and Virgo, the woman. Those are opposing signs.
And you said this is coming from particularly like a tablet of Enki, correct?
This one is the Enuma Elish.
Okay, so I want to add almost every ancient text, including these ancient cylinder scrolls, they all had a New Testament and an Old Testament, exactly how they do now. And I'm not trying to be funny or nasty, but it's literally a New Testicle and an Old Testicle. And what happens is it's the same thing as the 2 pillars: Joachim, Boaz, Cain, Abel. It's the Solomon's temple, the way it's built, as a penis entering a vagina.
Correct.
It's all the same.
If you guys want to see that, by the way, what you do is you go to Google and type in blueprint of Solomon's temple. And what you'll clearly see is it's made to size, because they talk about it built in cubits. That's the unit that they used to use. If you flip it 90 degrees on its head, it looks like a penis going into a vagina. And you have the 2 openings, the storage chambers. Those are the ovaries. That's where they drop the eggs.
And the ejaculation point is the Ark of the Covenant. That's
right?
the
They talk about the porch is the base of the penis. First of all, Jachin and Boaz, or Yakin and Boaz, as they would have been called, are the testicles from the overhead view. The porch is the base, the middle is the shaft, and the Holy of Holies is the head.
That's right. And then that in the energy being released from the Ark of the Covenant, which is said to have at one point had the entire Ben stone, but later they split it into pieces. But that was the ejaculation of the energy of whatever they were trying to manifest. And in Solomon's case, he was using sex magic.
In temples, that's why they have the doors that are covering the Torah, because you opened it up and that's where the information is. That's where the DNA is stored.
Well, and Solomon had everybody 700 concubines, 300 wives. I don't care if you're Wilt Chamberlain. You're not getting that busy, my man.
Well, Solomon is three words: soul, which is sun; Om, which, if you read the Upanishads, is the light of the word sun; and On was the city of light in Egypt, Heliopolis. Soul, Om, On. It's three names for the sun.
So the three things that carry our light the most, which is our light is our DNA, is your seminal fluid, both from male and female, and your blood. So there was blood magic, but it would only last as long as the body was heated, or the fluid was heated. So they found out if they kept it fire under it, the ectoplasm coming off of it would last longer and go into the astral plane, and they could manifest. And that's what all this was
completely side note. This is completely off topic from what I've been talking about for 2.5 hours. Have you ever seen these channelers with the lights off manipulating ectoplasm?
No, I haven't seen it myself.
Oh, if I find it, I'll send it to you. Oh my God.
For sure, brother.
It looks like Casper the Ghost. That's what it looks like. It looks like Casper the Ghost, and they can talk to it.
Now, are they proclaiming that it's
shit's wild, man?
External, or are they saying that it is them? To get back on track, what I was saying about the Old Testament, New Testament, the New Testament of the Sumerian text is the Enuma Elish. That's when what they did was the Old Testament of the Sumerian text is the Atrahasis. That's the original. It's about 1,000 years older than the Enuma Elish. And then the Enuma Elish was rewritten to make Marduk merge with Enki. So it was to make Marduk the new ruler, and that in Egypt was when that was the sun and the moon mixing. The moon was water, the sun was fire. So they mixed the two together and made Amen Ra. So every time you say Amen, you're actually talking about the water, the water god, which goes with the age of Pisces and the Vatican and all that.
Okay. So the Code of Hammurabi. If a man has stolen ox or sheep or ass or pig or ship, whether from the temple or the palace, he shall pay 30-fold. The man sign is Aquarius, the ox is Taurus, the sheep is Aries. Taurus and Aries are connecting signs. The ass is a Salus Borealis or donkey located in Cancer. The pig is a constellation called Porcus. The ship is a constellation called Argo that goes from Cancer to Scorpio. So there's 7 signs total. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. O mighty of knives, lady of the 2 lands, the one who smashes the enemies of the weary-hearted one, the one who does what is wise, the one free of wrong. The name of its gatekeeper is Long-Horned Bull. What is to be said when arriving at the 5th portal? Words spoken by the Osiris Ani, the vindicated, O fiery one, mistress of heat, the joyful one. The one whom the entities of the bald-headed do not descend, the one who asks that something be given to her without the swift of glance entering into her. The name of its gatekeeper is one who spears the disaffected. So the lady is Virgo, the woman, and the long-horned bull is Taurus. Chapter for becoming...
Real quick, Let me add something to answer 2 questions from earlier. What you just mentioned, the arc... what's astronomically or astrologically, what's it called again? The arc you were just talking about? Yeah. The
ship. The ship, Argo.
Argo. Okay. So Argo is literally the first constellation in the beginning of the journey of the 48 constellations. So the whole story of in the sky begins with Argo. All right. So originally in the Egyptian hieroglyphs, that's the ship you see with the either the Ogdoad with 8 people, the 8 Elohim on it, or the Ennead, which they'll have 9. That's the story of Noah. Noah is just Anu told again. So Noah and Anu are one and the same. It's so the story in the star starts with Argo of these beings, these other people coming either from the last new heaven, new earth, basically the old heaven, old earth, and coming over. And with all this knowledge and information, we now call the Anuna or Anunnaki. And someone asked earlier, well, what's the crux? What's the crux is the very last. You go from the Argo and you go all the way around and around and around and around. And the crux is the most southern constellation there is. It's the destination. So that's the story of Christ, and the Noah's Ark is the first. They don't got it in order because they got Adam and Eve and all that. That's just a reset. They tell you in the words Bereshith, which is be reset, and I can explain that with a 2-hour teaching. But it starts with Argo, with these beings coming here from the real true flood 12,900 years ago approximately, and now we come into the one by fire. So they came from the Nibiru, or the big red sun event.
It's funny because the Sphinx, the back of it is smooth, like water ran over it for thousands of years. The last time there was water there was 12,500 years ago,
exactly,
during the melting of the Ice Age. And guess what? 12,500 years ago, the Sphinx was facing the constellation Leo during the Age of Leo.
Exactly at the vernal equinox.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. The face of the Sphinx in the Age of Leo, when the sun came up on the spring equinox, when all life comes back to the earth, the Sphinx was staring Leo constellation right in the face. What's the odds of that? But people will tell you, oh no, civilization started 4,000 years ago in Sumer. You were hunter-gatherers for 100,000 years and a bunch of dumb monkey men. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's not true.
Chapter for becoming Ta, eating bread, drinking beer, purifying the hinder parts, and being alive in Heliopolis. What will you live on, say the gods and spirits to me? I will live and have power through bread. Where will you eat it, say the gods and spirits to me? I will have power, and I will eat it under the branches of the tree of Hathor, my mistress, who made offering of bread, Virgo, beer, Virgo, and corn, Virgo, in Heliopolis. Those who are in Heliopolis bow their heads to me, for I am the Lord, I am their bull. So the bread, beer, and corn, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, is Virgo. When you harvest, the bull is Taurus. Heliopolis is the city of light in Egypt. It was called On. That's why when you go into a room today, in order to get light or become enlightened, you have to turn the lights on, because everything is spiritual. It's just hidden from you. The Book of Enoch. Chapter 8.2. Semjaza taught enchantments. Armoros the resolving of enchantments. Barakijal taught astrology.
Brother Micah, keep on teaching, brother. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick.
All right, I'm gonna tear through this.
Okay, keep it going.
Okay, Semjaza taught enchantments. Armoros the resolving of enchantments. Barakiel taught astrology. Kokabel the constellations. Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds. Sariel the course of the moon. So guys, this is why they don't want the Book of Enoch, which is in the Ethiopian Bible, by the way, but they don't want it in the actual Bible, is because they're openly talking about astrology here, and that's a no-no. Remember, Catholic Catechism 2116. And in those days shall mountains leap like rams, Aries, and the hills shall also skip like lambs, Aries, satisfied with the milk, the Milky Way galaxy whose center is in Sagittarius. The Gospel of Q. Give us our daily bread today. Which of you would give your child stone if they ask for bread? Or who would give them a snake if they ask for fish? The bread is Virgo, the snake is Ophiuchus, and the fish is Pisces. Pisces and Virgo are opposing signs. Everyone who divorces his wife and remarries is unfaithful to her, and whoever marries someone who's divorced is unfaithful too. Which of you, if you had 100 sheep and lost one of them, wouldn't leave the 99 in the hills and go after the one that got lost? Divorce, marriage, court, law is all Libra. The sheep is Aries. They are opposing signs. The secret gospel of John. Sophia saw what her desire produced, a change into the form of a dragon with a lion's head. Dragon is the sign Draco. It goes from Aries to Sagittarius. The lion's head is Leo the lion. Aquarius, being part of Draco the dragon, and Leo are opposing signs. The Gospel of Thomas. Happy is the lion that a man will eat. The lion will become a man. Cursed is the man whom the lion eats, for that lion will become a man. They're talking about ingesting an animal and their components. Will become a part of you, or you a part of them. However, in astrology, the lion is the sign Leo, the sign of the man is Aquarius. They are opposing signs. This is the same story as Daniel and the lion's den, guys. Aquarius, the man, Daniel, in the lion's den, Leo. Man is like a skilled angler who casts his net up and draws it full of fish. Talking about the man sign Aquarius and the sign of the fish Pisces. They are connecting signs. Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Mary questioned her master. At the end of an eon, will all matter be destroyed? Each zodiac sign is considered a house. So the house of Aquarius, the house of Pisces, each sign is also called an eon. The Gospel of Philip. When he came to his disciples in splendid glory on the Mount of Olives, that's Libra, he wasn't small. He became great and made his disciples great so they could see him in his greatness. On that day, he said in gratitude, you who have united perfect light with Holy Spirit, unite us with the angels as well. Don't scorn the Lamb. Without him, it is impossible to know the King. No one may visit the King without robes of light. Olives are Libra. The Lamb is Aries. Those are opposing signs. The Good Samaritan gave wine and oil to the weak man. Both wine and oil come from Libra. The Gospel of Judas. A nearby lake of still waters quenched our thirst. The place reminded us of David's famed shepherd psalm, where souls are restored. The lake of still waters is Pisces, the water. The shepherd is Aries. These are connecting signs. The Gospel of Emmanuel, discovered by Billy Meyer. This earth can nourish and support 500 million people of all human races, but if those laws are not followed, remember, this was supposedly written 2,000 years ago. In 2,000 years, 10 times 500 million people, or 5 billion people, do the numbers match up? Will exist, and the earth will not be able to support them anymore. Where have we heard the 500 million from before? This gospel was discovered in 1963. Maybe something that was created in the 1980. The Georgia Guide.
That definitely comes from the Rosicrucians. It goes back to a man named R.C. Christian, who bought the rock, the granite, and R.C. Christian is a code within the Rosicrucians.
That's what they say, but I think it might have been a different group. I don't know. But as far as the 500 million goes, this Gospel of Emmanuel is where I tracked it back to, the 500 million, because everyone's always talking about the 500 million. Truly, I say to you, from now on, I will no longer drink of the fruit of the vineyard, that's Libra, nor eat of the bread, that's Virgo. Those are connecting signs. Okay, you're here back right in time for the Quran. Those who do not know say, why has not the Lord turned the word to us, and why will he not show us a sign from heaven? Similar words were spoken by those who came before them. Their hearts are alike. We interpret the signs for those who are committed to the faith. And how beautifully all the people see love of earthly passions. Here are women and sons. There are mountains of silver and gold, and marked horses, and herds of cattle, and a plowed field. The women are Virgo, the sign of the woman. The sons are the boys in Gemini. Horse is Sagittarius, and cattle is Taurus. The plowed field is Taurus as well. Taurus and Gemini are connecting signs. Gemini and Sagittarius are opposing signs. Verily, in the creation of earth and sky and in the change of night to day, here are the hidden signs for those who have intelligence. And among them, there are those who only pretendingly listen to you. We put a cover on their hearts so they would not understand it, and we covered their ear with deafness. And even if they see all the signs, they will not believe them. He is the one who brings down water to you from the sky, and with it we give plants of all kind to grow, and with it we grow shoots of cereals. From them we grew grains, sitting in ear dents of side by side. From the date palm, its ovaries and bunches of fruits hanging low. Gardens of vines, olives, pomegranates, which in many ways are so similar yet so different from each other. When fruits appear on them, rejoice in how they are poured and ripen. Truly, in this are hidden signs for those who believed in God. So what are the signs? The grains are planted in Taurus, then April showers bring May flowers, water from the sky, the grains grow, you reap in Virgo, gardens of vines and olives. Both grapes and olives are pressed in Libra. These are the hidden signs that they're trying to tell you. This is the Quran, guys. This is what people are killing people over.
Yeah, man.
And whoever,
It's crazy. It's really crazy.
And whoever
it is.
wants Jesus. And whoever wants to own a beautiful garden of date palms and vines, which is washed by abundant streams, where for his pleasure all kinds of fruit, while old age befalls him and the children are weak, so that a fiery whirlwind falls on the garden and swallows its ashes. So the Lord explains his signs to you so that you can understand. The vines are the vineyards in Libra, and the streams are the streams in the water sign of Pisces and Aquarius. God explains these 12 signs. This is the 72 virgins. Did you know this, by the way, Chief? There's a star called 70 Virginis that borders Virgo. So there's the 70. There's one in Virgo. And then the second one, the 72nd, is the one you marry on Earth. Those are the 72 virgins that they're dying for.
But and guess that's what? Also the word when they split up the Tower of Babel, where they put 72 gods over 72 different tribes with 72 different languages. And
exactly.
And it's like you said, Virgo represents the mother, so they're taking advantage of the children of the mother. That's what it's about.
Exactly. And you know what the other thing too is that the Muslims will sit there and they'll say, well, you're allowed to have multiple wives. It's true. You're actually allowed to have up to 4 wives. That's what you're allowed to do. But the caveat to that whole thing is you have to be able to afford it. And most Muslims cannot. So the Book of Mormon.
And another thing with Allah, I mean, we all know the acronym arm, leg, arm, head. But a lot of people don't know that there was a feminine. There's always a goddess that predates the god. Always. I'm telling you. I've been doing this a very extended moment. And all roads lead back to the goddess.
You could probably make a good argument to say that the reason that there's such chaos in the world is because we've flipped the masculine and the feminine, the divine feminine.
Yes.
Where it's a masculine-based world, whereas when it was a feminine-based world, there was peace, harmony, and
yeah.
And I'm not talking about just like voting for Kamala or Hillary.
No, exactly. That's where people get it misconstrued. You know, but with a lot, there was before Allah, there was a lot. And that was the feminine. It was a goddess that had the same concept. It was Allah, which literally goes back, according to my studies, I found 3,000 years before Allah. And you're absolutely right. But people can't take this knowledge carnally. You can't take all this esoteric knowledge that's being unveiled and then put it in your carnal mind and say, well, if I'm a man, what am I here for then? I'm just some play toy and we're going to raise the matriarch and the women just going to be sitting there eating grapes. And you're looking at it in a whole wrong way. It's energy.
You know, it's funny. They do all this stuff. Do you know your lower chakras, your lower 2 chakras are red and yellow. Those are your lower 2 chakras. That is the animalistic. That's the reptilian part of you. And you wonder why fast food places that are full of junk and shit, all their colors are red and yellow.
Oh yeah, even your oodles and noodles, your macaroni and cheese, everything in your cupboard right now. Your bags of chips, everything. The only place I've ever seen that has not that is, I think, Taco Bell. And if you look at Taco Bell's angle, they do with like the Illuminati commercials and like the Illuminati parody type things. So they're trying to attract those that are kind of like in the new age energy. That's why their colors are different. But go in your cupboard and do an experiment this evening. Those who aren't already in alignment, as far as eating what we should be eating, which is
Mm-hmm.
getting more difficult unless you're growing it yourself. That's why this is also crucial to learn, not just so you can know the mysteries, but to apply it in your own life in a simple way. Start planting your own herbs and things, and your own. They have. Look how crazy it is about having yards. The concept of a yard is, I mean, it's baffling. It is baffling, the concept of a yard, and you'll pay somebody $50 or more to come cut your lawn. You'll put
Well, there's a
seeds out
reason
there.
they did that. The reason they did that is about 100 or 150 years ago. Land was scarce, and if you had land, you grew food. You grew food. There were no supermarkets. You grew food.
That's right.
So if people had grass and yard that they weren't using, it showed their wealth. And we've perverted that and taken it in.
Wow. And I mean, isn't that the culture though? The people ride around in brand new BMWs and this and that. And my wife, she was real hip to it. She used to say the brokest man, because she bartended for a while in her life, and she used to say the guys that had the nicest cars and dressed nice were the brokest ones. They was the brokest ones. The guys that come into the bar.
There's a saying that says if you have a garden and you have a library, you have everything in the world.
Man, that's a good saying right there. And of course, love, above, you know what I mean? Because even to have a garden, you got to have love. You gotta love them plants and things. Like I talk to trees. I was talking to the trees earlier, because they're starting to bloom and things like that. I got some cherry blossoms out here that are absolutely gorgeous, 3 in a row, and I was talking to them earlier.
Trees, they're alive, and we know that they're alive. Like they're alive. Do you know that trees will also, if you have sibling trees, and one's getting too much shade, the other one's getting too much sun will literally move to give the other one shade. I mean, sun.
Some of them will even stunt their growth. Some of them will stay short.
Yeah, and also like mother trees that birth that drop and then birth other trees. They've been shown to favor them. It's absolutely wild. I mean, grass, the reason you smell that smell from grass is not like a great, smell that people should love. It's a distress signal from grass telling other grass to freaking hide. That's what it's basically doing.
Fact. And that's why you should speak to your food, even if you're eating raw vegetables and things, because if you speak, and there's been so many experiments that prove this. This is not some off the wall thing we're speaking about right now. It's been proven that even thought trees they have proven with sensors and things that even if you think about fire, a tree will have a electromagnetic, actually it's magnodielectric pulse that it's like a stress. Like they let out distress. If you show, now if you just say it, like I'm gonna catch you on fire, but don't put no intent in it, like they don't respond.
And it's really dumbed down, by the way, the whole talking to food thing. It's really dumbed down by saying, thank you, Jesus, for this meal we're about to eat. It's just dumbed down. It's not. It's not what we're talking about. It's
traditions of man. That is traditions of man. When you really got your hands above your food and you're concentrating on putting your energy into that food, and you are from your heart saying thank you, gratitude for coming into because listen, when you eat something that's alive, it doesn't die. You're not killing that carrot. You're not killing that celery. It's coming into you, which is still alive. So it's not yelling, like how some people try to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter if you're vegetarian or not, because even the plants are screaming. Listen,
everything's alive. Everything's alive. I mean, string theory talks about, the strings at, you know, everything at its base at the Planck level, everything is vibrating. This little tin of nicotine, right? This thing is vibrating. It's technically alive in a way. In fact, quantum physics, quantum theory, string theory is nothing but the third Hermetic principle from 6,000 years ago.
And just like you said, about, you used a pretty big word that I personally haven't heard before, but excuse me, about basically everyone thinks that we are like at the smartest point we've ever been to. When you can clearly see when people are crossing the street with their head down in their phone and not even looking up, just assuming that, you know, it's crosswalk, just let me go, you know, I'll rely on the little thing.
Why do you think billionaires don't let their kids play with tablets and phones?
Man, I'm right there with them. You know, especially with my youngest, she naturally is like, doesn't like that stuff. And there's people that try to, like, even schools nowadays try to force them. Like, if you don't have a tablet, you can't even go to school now, public school. There is, you have to be on the computers and all that kind of stuff. So, you know,
my best friend's son, who I love to pieces, I'm FaceTiming him and I'm talking, or he's on his tablet. So he calls me from his tablet. He's 4. And he says, Uncle Micah, because he calls me uncle because they think that I'm blood related, which I basically am. But
right.
He goes, Uncle Micah, I just found in the App Store a app that lets me play games for free. I'm like, dude, you're 4.
Man. Yeah. You see, my son is 19. He kind of grew out of it. Well, I'm grateful for. But he knows so much about things, you know, but you're right. It's younger and younger, but some of them you'll see literally get hypnotized. And that's where this whole concept of the metaverse, a lot of people are waiting on this place where our consciousness is going to go. Technically, it's already there. You know what I mean? We're already in a metaverse. That meta really just means dead. Like, it's not the real thing. And the
like
the
when
worst,
when you see news articles and the girl was like, I was assaulted in the meta universe. I'm like, take your goggles off. Go touch grass. Do something.
right?
Why is it a news story?
It's crazy, man. But brother,
let me
go ahead, run through. You can run through a few more. I say about 15 more minutes, and then I gotta wrap it up because my daughter is kind of like
I only have 9 slides left.
Okay, and like I said to you and everyone in the chat, you're greatly appreciated. And brother Mike and I are definitely gonna have a part 2 to this. And now that he's given you, I mean, just more than enough. It's just more than enough. Call, don't be, you know, I don't want to use the wrong word. I don't want to say selfish, but reach out to someone. Reach out to someone. This is a respectful broadcast. No one is on here with a foul mouth. We're not talking down on nobody. We have not called anybody lesser than. Nothing. We're not shaming anyone. It's okay to say, hey, can you please just sit down and take a few hours out of your day to watch this so you can really just learn the truth, please. It's not going to take away from you. It's going to add to you. That's this people are so just holding on to this external thing, and that is the world. And it's like everything that is in these books that they worship, it's even in the books. Even Christ said, you search in these scriptures thinking in them you're going to find eternal life, when they are they that witness of me. And me is not Jesus. He's talking about the Christ energy, because he also says, I abide in you, you abide in me, and we abide in the origin of eternal soul, life, light, and rest. Now, they use the word pater, but I've already decoded all that. It goes back to Ptah and this and that, and it doesn't mean father. That was the Greeks and the Romans changed everything to that said God to father, just like Ezra changed everything in Babylon to Yahweh. It's just been, and then the Council of Nicaea changed it to to Isis, Isus, if you want to say. Like, it's just been changed so many times.
In Hebrew, first of all, you touched base on the J, right? That there was no J until the year 1534, I think, or 1524, one of those two. That's when the letter J actually came in. Everything was, so when you're saying Jonathan in Hebrew, it's Yonatan. Mm-hmm. When you say Jacob, it's Yaakov. So it's the Y sound. So Yeshua actually translates to Joshua.
Exactly. And people don't realize that he was looked at as a messianic figure because he came with the sword and he was a metaphysical master. He was the one that learned, that was next in line in the priesthood, that actually came out of Kemet from Amenhotep IV, also known as Moses, that at the changing of the age of Taurus to the age of Aries, like we already touched on, he left and took a group with him, and I kind of taught how they manifested it on an astral level on the last teachings. I'm not going to get all into that, but it's really just about knowing the energies of the ages. So now, what do we know right now? We know that we're just a few years away. We're in the cusp right now of Pisces and Aquarius. For all those that don't know,
I'm going to explain that real quick. Hold on, what slide am I on? I'm going to explain that for you. 143. Go figure. Let me explain that to you real quick. So if you look at this zodiac right here, we are right here. Okay. Now check this out. There's 12 zodiac signs. There's 30 days in each sign. Okay. I was talking about the cusp. The cusp is the last three and the first three. So you've got 6 cusp dates out of 60. So that's 1/10. During the age that we're in, it's the precession. So usually you go from Aquarius to Pisces to Aries to Taurus. That's during the year. But for the age that we're in, you go backwards because it's a slippage. It's the precession of the equinoxes. Each sign is 2,160 years.
This is about a 21-year cut.
So you multiply that by 2, you get 4, 3, 2, 0. Divide that by 10, 432. Hello, harmonic frequency. Yeah. So we're in a 432-year period of time right here where we get it. So the age of Pisces was the age of belief. The age of Aquarius is the age of knowing. So we're in the cusp right now. That's why we're still dealing with stagnant religious energy right here in Pisces. But that will go away.
That's right. But this is what you got to be careful, full of care with. The new age Ra legions, because just as every age prior, the powers that be have priests and priestesses that the way Micah and I are sharing to the benevolent ones, they have teams of people like Micah and I that are sharing this with, like the Bilderberg group and things. What do you think these meetings are? They're led by priests and priestesses, but malevolent.
They have think tanks that run 24/7.
Exactly. And it's all based off of similar things that you have come here and learned this evening, or if you're watching it on the rewatch. I need you to know this. This is where a lot of these, I'm from the Pleiades and this and that, from Arcturus and stuff. This stuff gets inserted into the masses. There's so much that gets inserted. Like the nine ether thing in what we would call the melanated community. Now, nine ether can be looked at as, if you know it truly, then you know it has nothing to do with color or anything. But they're making it into listen, if anyone's giving you any kind of doctrine that has to do with skin color, run, turn around, run. If somebody's giving you doctrine based on how curly your hair is, turn around and run. I'm telling you, there's a reason your skin is called derma. That's an anagram for dream. Okay, it's the biggest organ. What's the organ do? It gives out a vibration. If you can't get past the first vibration that's on the outside, you can't get past that, then you're stuck at square one. Like Brother Micah just said, we're coming out of the age of living, and we're coming into the age of knowing. And what is the only thing you can know? Now. And now is you and I. What is that? The you and I verse instead of you verse I. That has been going on in the past few, really 2.5 ages, because prior to that, in the beginning of the age of Taurus, like you hit on a little bit earlier, they still venerated the divine feminine, the scales of Ma'at, and the Hathors and the goddesses and things, and you could see it slowly slipping away as the dynasties went on to the to the Ra and Amen, Ra, and this one and that one, and the same thing was happening over in Babylon, and you can see it. You can see the patriarch. I call it the Most High Jack. That's what everybody says, the Most High. I call it the Most High Jack. That's,
brother. You want me to finish this real quick so that
yes.
You can
go ahead,
okay,
brother.
So the Book of Mormon, there's just a few slides. Nevertheless, I went forth, and as I came near unto the house of Laban, I beheld a man, and he had fallen to the earth before me, for he was drunken with wine. That's Libra. Yeah, and I also thought that they could not keep the commandment of the Lord according to the law. That's Libra too. And after the house of Israel should be scattered, they should be gathered together again. Or in fine, after the Gentiles had received the fullness of the gospel, the natural branches of the olive, Libra, true, or the remnants of the house of Israel should be grafted or come to the knowledge of the true Messiah, their Lord, their Redeemer. Therefore remember, O man, for all thy doing thou shalt be brought into judgment. Olives and judgment, both Libra. And my father said he should baptize Aquarius in Bethabara beyond Jordan. He also said he should baptize with water. Well, that's still Aquarius. Even that he should baptize the Messiah with water. And after he had baptized the Messiah with water, he should behold and bear record that he had baptized the Lamb of God. That's Aries.
Real quick,
And I looked and beheld the Lamb of God.
This Book of Mormon, right? Joseph Smith, 33 degree Freemason. Just want to throw that out there.
Yep. And I looked and beheld. Why is this not working? Oh, there we go. Okay. And I look and I beheld the Lamb of God, that's Aries, that he was taken by the people. Yeah, the Son of the everlasting God was judge of the world, and I saw a bear record. The Lamb of God is Aries. The Son of God, or the Son of Man, is Aquarius. Judging takes place in Libra. Libra and Aries are opposing signs. This is the Book of Mormon. So let me read this to you one more time. My point, once again, is not that those ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we're now dumb enough to take them literally. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said that all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. So do you understand the great implication here? What is more likely? That all the Western ancient holy texts that we take for granted are living, breathing books and revelation keeps coming true? Or that the ancient elites have encoded all our texts this way and are tailoring events that people can interpret as coming true? Which sounds more realistic?
Exactly.
So, real quick, I just wanted to share this. I actually have a book series, and I wanted to share this with your audience because if you enjoyed what I shared tonight, then I think you'll really enjoy the book series. The topics that I discuss in the book series, Just to name a few: gematria, etymology, numerology, astronomy, astrology, astrotheology, out-of-body experiences, the Akashic records, symbology, remote viewing, religious secrets, capstones of the pyramids, DNA encoding, mystery school channelers, near-death experience, DMT monitoring, lucid dreaming, acoustic levitation, physics and quantum physics, psychotherapy, psychology, spiritual guides, Tesla tech, shared dreaming, crystal technologies, conspiracies that not many people know about, corruption and secret societies. My first book talks mostly about MK Ultra. Book 2, The Secret of the Pyramids. Book 3, The Knights Templar versus the Rosicrucians. Book 4, The Jab, which I wrote in 2017 and predicted what happened. Book 5, Where the Library of Alexandria is Now. Book 6 exposes the Bohemian Grove and the Pindar. Book 7, Transmuting the Stone at the Kaaba into Gold and Destroying the World's Market. Book 8, Tesla's Earthquake Machine in Greenland. And this is my book series. It's called Into the Rabbit Hole. I don't know if any of you have ever heard Into the Rabbit Hole, the book series. I'm the author for it. These are the
well,
8
I'm
books.
gonna have to check you out, brother. It's a couple of titles in there that just piqued my interest. Yeah, I'm definitely. Maybe we can.
Man.
We'll talk.
So
maybe we
these are
can
the
work
8, you have
something
to
out.
read them in order.
Maybe we
Yeah,
can
of
work
course.
something out for the audience. Where we'll talk. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk if they're interested. The other thing is my website is debunkmywork.com. I just gave you one example of pretty much everything. But if you go to this website, you'll find Rumble links. It's a whole page, and you'll find Rumble links of about 70 or 80 ancient holy texts that were fully decoded. So I did Revelation in Matthew. That's on there, for example. But like, for example, the book of Enoch, right? I only gave like 1 or 2 examples. But if you go there, you can find the entire video for the book of Enoch. This is my Rumble. User NYDank101. My Facebook is MICAH Dank. My Twitter is @RealMrDank. And my Instagram is MICAH Dank. And I will put together a second presentation for you. I will definitely work something out with your audience because unfortunately, Audible has me in a stranglehold and Amazon just sucks. So I sell my book series. I can sell signed autographed copies, but I also have digital copies, and I also paid someone to turn them into audiobooks. So I have all that, and I can definitely work. We'll talk. We can work on it, and I'll put together a second presentation.
And brother, honestly, I respect somebody who is doing it from the ground up, grassroots level, more than someone who's working. Not saying I don't respect people that have put their work on Amazon and things like that, but I'm really trying to take it back to every aspect of it, of life, to a grassroots level. So I love even if it might not be the way you wanted it right now. I love the fact that people got to contact you. And honestly, I'm still working on my book, and I don't know if you know about the situation that with my wife and everything. That kind of,
I'm sorry to hear that.
I appreciate it, brother. That kind of like threw a wrench in it a little bit, but everything
I'll
is
tell you
going.
this much right now. I have an English degree in language, literature, and criticism, which is exactly what I do. But if you were looking for an editor, they can be costly. But if you wanna finish it up and send it to me, I can do it for you.
Okay, that's what's up, brother. Appreciate that. If you want to drop your like a cash app or something like that tonight for
All
everybody.
people got to do is reach out to me on social. Incidentally, my website, debunkmywork.com. If you scroll all the way at the bottom, there's a little section where you can fill out the information, and it'll go to my email. But if you find me on social media and you DM me, I answer every single person that reaches out to me. I can literally all I'll do is you reach out to me. Hey, I'm interested in the books. I can either email them to you, the digital copies or the audiobook copies. It's an 8-book set. And I had to, I studied the greats. I studied like Orwell and Jules Verne, and I studied Philip K. Dick. I studied Huxley. And I realized that in order to transmute this type of esoteric knowledge, you have to write a fiction book. because you need to slowly wake people up with a story that if it's too much for them, they could be like, it's just a story. But that's what I did. It's a fiction series.
Well, isn't that what Hollywood does? That's the same thing Hollywood does. You know what I mean?
I openly talk about this.
Yeah, I'm not insinuating that you're like, or because it's energy and it's information. So you can either be agreeable, disagreeable, benevolent, or malevolent with it, and it's
I tell people just if you want to see what people say about these books, go to my first book, Beneath the Veil, on Amazon, and just look at the reviews. Look at what they were saying. But brother, we've been on for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add some things. I was gonna let you go before I added it, but you know what? If I say something and you want to add something to it, that's cool. So unless you gotta go real quick, but I just had jotted a few things down that I was just gonna see if there was a window for me to share. But just if that wasn't enough for you as far as the Bible, this might not have to do with astrotheology, but I just want to add a few details. A man by the name of Empedocles raised a woman back to life. Exact story of Jesus and Lazarus 500 years earlier, 30 days after her death. So that story of Jesus and Lazarus is from a story of a man named Empedocles from 500 years before. So there's one miscellaneous.
Well, it's El Azarus or El Osir. It's Egyptian. This is in my second presentation. I could definitely, because my second presentation is going to basically,
brother, I think we both kind of held back tonight on like just free flowing, just to get the information, the foundation out. So right. I really think that we need a part 2 where we can both just go at it. You know what I mean? Tonight was more
marinate for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's gonna have to. I think it's gonna be rewatched by pretty much everyone. Let it marinate probably for a week and a half, and then me and you will talk, and we'll get part 2 on here, and it'll be more of a free flowing thing where we can just bounce off each other. Because tonight, I had you on as my guest, and in no way would I ever try to make it some kind of battle of wits or something like that. That's not ever. And I know that's not your energy at all either.
I've been playing tennis with Jason Brashears online, trying to get on Archetypes with this information, and he's back and forth with it a little bit. But I think that his audience would really appreciate this stuff.
Well, a lot of his audience is here. To be honest with you, there's a great portion of his audience that is over here. Some people still go back and forth. Some have articulated the fact that they feel like they've transitioned from Jason to here. So, it's like I said, it's your journey, but your journey has hour in it twice. So it's our journey. So there is no wrong teacher for you or this or that. It's all about where you're at. So, and a lot of people, let me just address something real quick. Mm-hmm. There's a group of people that come here that think when I speak about certain things, they always assume that I'm talking about Jason. And it's not the case. I've been going through this since I started teaching. There's always another teacher. There's something that is teaching, that maybe touching on some of the same things that I'm teaching on. They assume that I'm coming at them personally. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's the old saying I got, if it don't apply, let it fly. And, sometimes I do bring Jason's work up, but that's not, I've never once said anything about the man and his work in a negative fashion. Have I said that I know that he's incorrect on some things? Yes. But the same way that Micah could probably go over my work and say the same thing, and I could go over his work and find a few things. That's why we are supposed to go like this. We're not supposed to do this. We're supposed to fill in the gaps. And I believe we've done that here tonight, and we'll do that more like on part 2, and we'll do it. But just a few more miscellaneous facts. Apollonius of Tyana brought back the daughter of a Roman consul exactly how Jesus did the daughter of Jairus, which was hundreds of years before the story in the Bible. And he also fed 5,000. Apollonius of Tyana also fed the 5,000 like Jesus did. The legion, it says, when the guy, the demons and the legion, it says it was 2,000 demons. Well, that comes from the mysteries of Eleusis, where there's 2,000 initiates that bathe with pigs to get all their impurities out at the end of their initiation ritual. And then they sacrifice the pigs by getting them out of the water and hurting them and running them off a cliff. That's where that story comes from. It's literally from millennia before even Old Testament stuff, let alone the story of casting the demons into the pigs and all. This goes back, like Brother Michael just said, to the Kemet mystery schools. This was initiations. They used to bathe. That was bathing with 2,000 initiates. Would bathe with the pigs in like a man-made pool pond type thing, and they would do a ritual with the high priest and everything, and they would purge all their impurities out, and they would put it into the pigs, and then they wouldn't sacrifice.
It's funny because a lot of cruises that go into the tropical islands, below Florida, a lot of cruises that go over there. One of the things that they'll do is you can have an excursion where you can swim with the pigs.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that. And then I had a few more things, but we're pushing it, brother. But yeah, the whole resurrecting of the sun thing, that really goes back to Osiris and Dionysus. That's where it really originates from. You take it to Atlantis and things, yeah, but then we're getting into you have to know that people are accessing this energy through what you would call the Akashic records, which is not someplace like Billy Carson is talking about. Now they found the pillars under the pyramids. He's saying, the halls of Amenti are down there, and that's where the Akashic records are. No, the Akashic records are your ancestral memories, and they're in your light code DNA, and you can access it anytime. All you got to do is ask the greatest of spirit to remember. That's it. You just ask the Great Spirit to remember. What is remember? It's becoming a member again. With what? With your higher self and with the ancestors. Am I telling you to worship your ancestors? No. Am I telling you that your ancestors are in you and you can access all of their memories and knowledge and wisdom? Yes, absolutely. Because I do it. Okay. So I'm gonna leave you with that. I love each and every one of you, Brother Micah.
This has been great. I don't have any other words, but thank you.
It's been absolutely awful. It's been absolutely awful. That's what I'm going to say.
It has definitely been. We'll talk behind the scenes. You have my phone number. Let's see what kind of reviews we get for this, and then I'll put together part 2 in like a week or so.
Sounds good to me, brother.
Thank you for having me on, brother. Take care.
No problem. Take care. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. There's a lot that I could have added, but you see, it's going 3 hours and 43 minutes. We like Brother Micah said, we would have been going to one in in you know into the wee hours. So which is cool. I know a lot of streamers that go 5-6 hours and people stay on there the entire length of it. And I probably could too, but as you guys know, I'm a single father of 4 children, a widower, and uh, been in here for quite a moment. So got to tend to some responsibilities. I appreciate every single one of you. Um, you heard Micah, all his links and everything. Run it back. A lot of his book titles sounded very interesting. Um, and you guys, I saw Goat Mama in the chat did a excellent job as a moderator. Eternal gratitude. You did awesome. I just hats off to you, Prairie Goat Mama, in the chat as a moderator. Um, Nothing against anyone else. Also, Brother Sean, salute to you as well, and everyone here. I see a lot of day one people. Sister Joan, I seen Brother Conscious Soul in here. I think I seen Sister Barb. I see a lot of you in here, and even Brother Rick, um, Rusty. You know, I love all of you, and I don't just, it's not something I blurt out. Like, I genuinely mean this, and I know y'all can feel it. Okay. Um, Hope you enjoyed that. Brother Tim, how you doing? Um, Sister Patrice, I seen you in here. And anybody I missed, please don't be offended. Garden Goddess, Brother Dustin, Sister Barb. Um, I love y'all, and the best word that I know to embody that is, as always and always, me set. So y'all have a great evening or great rising wherever you're at in the realm, and I'll talk to you soon.